Yun Chujio left the courtyard in a huff. Damn it, I've had enough. They were all men trying to make their girlfriends happy, but she had to coax that arrogant fool who was always insulting the heavens and the earth. She would lose her face every few days and serve whoever she wanted. Anyway, she wouldn't serve anyone anymore. This fellow walked for a while in a huff before he remembered. Damn it, that was my courtyard. If he wanted to leave, he should have told the gigolo to leave. He was really mad. However, since he had come out, there was no reason for him to go back. It was also good to find someone to vent his anger on. He should go and cheat. Therefore, this fellow went to the big kitchen with a gloomy face. Fatty Wong quickly went up to her and asked, "Junior sister Yun, why are you back?" "Why? This big kitchen is your territory. Can't I come?" Fatty Wong almost vomited blood. He could only say embarrassedly, I can come. You can come as you please." Yun Chujio walked to the side of her personal stove and sat on the small horse. She stared at the crowd with a gloomy face. The atmosphere in the big kitchen suddenly dropped to the freezing point. Everyone was careful, afraid to provoke this female fiend. The saddest one was the handyman who cut the vegetables. He didn't dare to make too much noise, so he could only cut the vegetables gently bit by bit. It was simply too torturous. After 2 hours of hard work, all the dishes were ready. Yun Chujio put the dishes into her storage ring and then left the big kitchen. When the people in the big kitchen saw that the bad guy had finally left, they felt as if they had survived a disaster. Damn, the atmosphere in the room just now was suffocating, okay? It was really strange. She was clearly a little girl at the 6th layer of the spiritual mystery realm. Why did it make people feel scared from the bottom of their hearts? Yun Chujio walked out of the big kitchen and was at a loss. Where was she going? She had already made a promise to Lung Kue that she would not run around anymore. If she were to go wandering around, would that count as not keeping her word? This guy thought for a moment. Behind the big kitchen was the back mountain of Jinfeng, so there should not be any trouble there. Therefore, this guy went to the back mountain of Jinfeng with a gloomy face and casually broke a branch. Then he found a big rock and sat down. He took the branch and whipped it hard on the ground. "You little gigolo. I'll whip you. I'll whip you to death. Arrogant. Shameless. Do you think I care about you? Narcissist. How could that fragile little branch withstand this guy's whipping? It broke after a few whips. This guy was so angry that he threw the remaining half of his hand away. What kind of lousy thing is this? Even you are bullying me. Squeak squeak. The twig that Yun Chujio casually threw had hit some demon beast. Only a miserable cry could be heard. Yun Chujio turned her head and saw a gray shadow running into the depths of the forest. This fellow was feeling extremely bored and quickly got up to chase after it. The demon beasts that lived in the back mountain were mostly low-level demon beasts. Therefore, Yun Chujio did not spend much effort to chase after it. It turned out to be a long-eared wind-blade rabbit. When the long-eared wind-blade rabbit saw Yun Chujio chasing after it, it ran as fast as it could and went into a cave, disappearing without a trace. Yun Chujio suddenly felt dispirited. So it was such a small thing. She was tired of eating rabbit meat. Forget it, she could spare it with kindness. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio was about to turn around and leave. Suddenly, she narrowed her eyes and took a few steps forward. There seemed to be something wrong with this rabbit hole. A normal rabbit hole was only the size of a rabbit's body. This was to prevent predators from entering. However, this rabbit hole was a little too big. No matter how she looked at it, it did not look like a rabbit hole. Yun Chujio curiously walked to the side of the cave and observed it. The wild grass around the cave did not look different from the wild grass beside it, which meant that the cave should have existed a long time ago. Could it be that this cave was dug by another large-scale demon beast and then occupied by this long-eared wind-blade rabbit? Yun Chujio felt that this explanation was still reasonable, so she stood up and prepared to leave. At this moment, she heard the long-eared wind-blade rabbit's miserable cry from the depths of the cave. It was so shrill as if it had encountered something terrible. Yun Chujio could not help but laugh. Since you had burrowed into the other person's cave, you naturally took the initiative to deliver yourself to the other person as a snack. What's the use of shouting now? Yun Chujio took a few steps forward. After thinking for a while, she turned back and muttered, "Forget it, I'll show mercy once. I hope it's not too late." The reason why this guy was so kind was because he felt that she was like this rabbit. He clearly knew that the pretty boy was an arrogant maniac, but he still wanted to get close to her. Wasn't he just looking for trouble? It could only be said that it was easy for people who had fallen out of love to connect the dots. They could even connect the dots when they saw a rabbit. This guy took a few steps back. He faced the entrance of the cave and shot out several bolts of lightning. He shouted, "Hey! Listen to me, the demonic beast inside. That rabbit is my pet. If you dare to eat it, it'll roast you." It was unknown whether it was because the soil in the back mountain was too loose or Unchuji's lightning was too powerful. After a few bolts of lightning from this fellow, a large area around the cave collapsed. Curious Joe also fell down miserably. That poor long-eared wind-blade rabbit was currently being swallowed by a bloodthirsty giant python. Only a pair of long rabbit ears were still exposed. Yunchujio shot several bolts of lightning at the 7 inches of the giant bloodthirsty python. Even though this fellow was a weakling in front of Master Xiaohou and the others, in front of these low-level demon beasts, he was simply a formidable fiend. The giant bloodthirsty python was only a level 20 demon beast. How could it withstand her attack? Its body was in pain. It opened its mouth and spat out the poor long-eared wind-blade rabbit. Yunchujio did not stop until the giant bloodthirsty python was dead. Although the miserable long-eared wind-blade rabbit did not die, it was timid to begin with. Now it was so scared that it was trembling. "Alright, I won't kill you. Run for your life." When the long-eared wind-blade rabbit heard Yunchujio's words, it stood up and ran into the depths of the cave in a panic. Yunchujio was so angry that she laughed. "This is really a stupid rabbit. Why don't you run out of the cave instead?" Yunchujio was also bored and followed the rabbit into the cave. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit was also scared out of its mind. When it saw that Yunchujio had actually followed it, it used its 4 claws to dig at the wall of the cave desperately. It was obvious that it was planning to dig a hole to escape. Yunchujio hugged her shoulders and watched from the side. How could there be such a stupid rabbit? This fellow was also quite wicked. It took out a small pony from its storage ring and sat on it to watch the rabbit dig a hole. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit felt that it was really unlucky. It was perfectly fine eating grass, but it was smashed by this fiend's branch. "Let's dig a hole," and we even met a bloodthirsty python. Now the evil star was still eyeing it from the side. What was she going to do? The long-eared wind-blade rabbit did not believe that Yunchujio would not kill it. If she did not want to kill it, why did she not leave? Why was she staring at it? She must have planned to wait until it was exhausted from digging the hole before eating it. Bad silver. Just as the long-eared wind-blade rabbit was trying its best to dig a hole, it heard that evil star casually say, "Your digging skills are really not that good. I heard that a crafty rabbit has 3 burrows. With a weakling like you, it would probably take you a lifetime to dig 3 burrows, right?" The long-eared wind-blade rabbit felt that it had received 10,000 points of damage, but it did not dare to go against Yunchujio. It could only desperately dig, 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 plop. Yunchujio only heard a plop and then there was no more movement. She stood up in surprise and was momentarily dumbfounded. What was going on? Could there be a hole behind this hole? Yunchujio threw a sudden crack talisman into the tunnel that the long-eared wind-blade rabbit had dug earlier. After the explosion, Yunchujio found that the inside was actually hollow, with the faint sound of running water. Yunchujio immediately understood. There should be an underground river down there. The unlucky long-eared wind-blade rabbit must have fallen into the underground river, which was why there was a splash. Yunchujio took out the luminous pearl and shone it on it. Sure enough, there was an underground river down there, but the flow was very slow, so the sound of the water was not loud. The unlucky long-eared wind-blade rabbit had climbed up the rock by the side of the underground river, with a look of despair on its face. Yunchujio sat on the chopping board and flew down. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit did not move at all. It had already accepted its fate. If it was willing to eat it, then it would eat it. Yunchujio walked to the side of the dark river and looked around. She did not know where this dark river flowed from. If it was discovered, it would definitely be a hidden danger to the origin-killing sect. Because if someone sneaked into the origin-killing sect from the dark river, no one would discover it. It would be completely undetectable. Yunchujio thought of this and decided to explore along the underground river. Anyway, she did not want to go back and face D. Biming's ugly face now. He might as well swim. "Rabbit, I want to go down and swim. Come with me," Yunchujio said while holding the long ears of the long-eared wind-blade rabbit. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit rolled its eyelids and fainted from anger. "It was a rabbit, not a fish, okay? Swim my ass." Yun Chujio could not help but laugh. She put the rabbit into her spirit beast bag and jumped into the dark river. The dark river was deeper than she had imagined. She swam down the river and swam for 2 hours before she realized that there was light coming in. It seemed like she was going out. However, when she swam to a place where there was light, she could not help but be a little surprised. In front of her was a stone wall. There were some cracks on the stone wall and the water in the dark river flowed out through the cracks. Only then did this fellow understand why the flow of water was so slow and why the water from the underground river was so deep. It was because the exit was too narrow, which was why it was like this. However, this was also good. This way, people with ulterior motives would not be able to use it to sneak into the origin-killing sect. However, this was still not too safe. When there was an opportunity, she would explore what exactly this place was. Thinking of this, he swam back to the place where he fell. After thinking for a while, he felt that it was still early, so he swam up again to see where the other end of the underground river led to. Therefore, he started swimming again. After swimming for 4 hours, she saw a light shining in. To her surprise, the source was only a few narrow stone cracks, and the water was slowly seeping down. Yun Chujio touched her chin. He guessed that there was either a spring or a stream. Since there was not much water seeping down, no one would notice it. As for the water seeping down, it had formed an underground river after many years. It was not formed overnight. It should have been thousands of years or even tens of thousands of years. Yun Chujio felt that her journey of searching for secrets had come to an end for the time being. When she had the chance, she would investigate the place up there again. Otherwise, if she were to go out so rashly, she would probably be disliked again. Just as this fellow was about to leave, he vaguely heard someone speak again. Senior brother, I heard that Yun Chujio has asked to be grounded. I reckon that our Shi Yuan sect will be quiet for a few days. Fortunately, she didn't come up to our water mountain. Otherwise, our treasures might have suffered. Isn't that so? I heard that Yun Chujio is a foodie. If she knew that our water mountain's lotus pond has the extremely delicious green jade lotus root, she would definitely come and harm us. That's right. However, we can't let our guard down. We must constantly keep an eye on the movements of that scourge so that we won't be caught off guard. A certain Jio's eyes instantly lit up. Green jade lotus root? My goodness, isn't this the only type of lotus root in the world that doesn't grow in the mud? I heard that the taste of that lotus root when eaten raw is even sweeter than a spirit fruit. If it was stewed in soup, it would be so fresh that it would make one swallow their tongue. Now the question was, would she go along with it or not? Entering the treasure mountain empty-handed was clearly not this fellow's character. Therefore, this fellow did not have any mental struggles. After the 2 disciples left, she took out her large kitchen knife and started to chop. After all, she could just use something to block it. Moreover, she was also a member of the murderous Yuan sect. It was not a big deal to eat a few lotus roots, right? Yes, that was it. It really was nothing. This fellow had always been willful. Moreover, she did not have any absolute concept of right and wrong. Therefore, it was impossible to rely on her 3 views of the world. After she cut a gap, she leaned out to take a look. Immediately, she grinned. A pool full of green jade lotus roots and snow-white lotus roots seemed to be waving at her. Teske, this kind of green jade lotus root was still the best. It looked clean and tender. It was simply too tempting, wasn't it? This fellow was afraid that the long night would bring more trouble, so she specially picked the largest green jade lotus root and stuffed it into her storage ring. This fellow was listless and evil. She only took the lotus root away, but the lotus leaves on it did not move at all, therefore it was estimated that no one would notice it in a short while. This fellow felt that it was almost done, so she went back into the underground river. After mending the gap, she swam back in satisfaction. This fellow was afraid that someone would notice it, so she climbed up and covered the cave tightly. Anyway, there were a lot of big rocks in her storage ring. After filling it up, she covered it with soil. She even sprinkled some grass seeds on it and used some diluted guai chow juice to accelerate the growth. Soon there was no difference between it and other places. It was perfect. Only then did Yun Chujio release the sad long-eared wind-blade rabbit. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit looked around with a confused face. Who is it? Where was it? This was clearly a cave before, why did it turn into a grassland now? Yun Chujio threw a few hemostatic pills to it. Here, this is your compensation. Don't go into a hole just because you see it, idiot. After saying that, Yun Chujio hopped away from the back of the mountain. This fellow's heartbreak had already been cured by the green jade lotus. Since he had nowhere else to go, he would just go back to his dormitory. As for the vicious words that he had let go of earlier, who hadn't said a few angry words before? Could he really take it seriously? Moreover, that was my courtyard, why should the pretty boy occupy it? This fellow walked valiantly towards the dormitory. Unfortunately, when he was a few hundred feet away from the courtyard, he chickened out. She had scolded the gigolo in the morning. If she were to go back now, would she be subjected to some domestic violence? However, the sky was getting darker and darker. There was no place to go if she didn't go back. Hence, this fellow rubbed his way to the entrance of the courtyard. He pushed the door open and peeked inside. When this fellow saw that D. Biming was not in the courtyard, he heaved a sigh of relief. He pushed the door open and sneaked into the courtyard. This fellow had been mentally preparing himself for a long time. He was scolding himself, but look at your cowardly appearance. What was there to be afraid of? Didn't he just scold him a little? How could he eat you up? Besides, what he scolded was reasonable. What was there to be afraid of? Even so, this guy still couldn't move his legs. He turned his eyes and took out a wine gourd from his storage ring. The wine strengthened the courage of a hero. He was going all out. This guy drank 2 mouthfuls and didn't feel anything. He gulped down a few mouthfuls before putting away the wine gourd. Why did it feel like the world was spinning? Damn it, I drank too much. Although this guy tried his best to stay calm, the alcohol quickly came back to him. Instantly, Coward 9 became Hero 9. Hero 9 walked to the door and kicked it open. D. Biming was sitting on the chair and looking at her coldly. What are you looking at? Haven't you seen a beauty before? Gigolo, you don't have good intentions. Get out of my way and don't bother me. Damn, it felt so good to say whatever he wanted. D. Biming already knew that Yun Chujie was back. Now that he saw how drunk she was, he was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Didn't you say that if you came back you would be my grandson? Why did you come back? Grandpa, pretty boy, I'm back. Hee, go get me some foot washing water. A certain Geo collapsed on the chair and pointed at D. Biming with a smile. D. Biming. Only this black thing in front of him was able to describe his grandson as an ancestor. Didn't I tell you that you're not allowed to drink? Have you forgotten? D. Biming slammed the table and shouted coldly. Of course I haven't forgotten, but why should I listen to you? I'm drinking now, what can you do to me? Let me tell you, Gigolo, don't think that I'm afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. This guy was even addicted to calling himself a grandson. Ichimbi, isn't that just giving in? Didn't you say that I'm an insensible child, so you gave in to me? A trace of hurt flashed in D. Biming's eyes. He didn't expect that the black thing was just giving in to him. Wrong. 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 You bastard. That's not giving in, that's love. Love, do you understand? If someone else was shouting in front of me, fuck, I would have killed him long ago. Yun Chujie pointed at D. Biming, she shouted loudly. D. Biming was stunned. So it wasn't giving in, it was love? You gigolo, today your grandson will teach you what love is. What is love? Love is tolerance, love is tolerance. You clearly can't stand your arrogant attitude, but your grandson still wants to be with you. Do you know why? Because I love you, I love everything about you, including your shortcomings, including your shamelessness. Sob, I'm so wronged. I've already treated you like this, yet you still scold me and always give me face. You bastard. A certain Jiu was originally speaking righteously, but in the blink of an eye she was crying like a baby. D. Biming did not comfort Yun Chujie. Instead he stood there in a daze. He recalled the scenes of the two of them getting along. It seemed that little Jiu had been tolerating him. He doted on little Jiu more than he was tolerating her. When D. Biming regained his senses, Yun Chujie was already sleeping on the table. There were still tears in the corner of her eyes. D. Biming felt both guilty and sad. He picked Yun Chujie up and placed her on the bed. He used a towel to gently wipe a certain Jiu's crying face. D. Biming slept with his clothes on. To be more precise, he did not feel sleepy lying down. As the seal was broken bit by bit, many familiar and unfamiliar memories flooded into his mind. It was a huge impact on him. In addition to the fact that he was facing a powerful enemy, it had been a long time since he had properly examined his relationship with little Jiu. He felt that he loved her and she loved him, and that was enough. However, tonight he finally knew how wrong little Jiu felt. Perhaps it wasn't because of the effects of the alcohol, but she would never say these words. At most she would just lash out and scold him like she did during the day. Biming's eyes were a little red. Before he reincarnated, he was alone. He had no family, no friends, and no lover. Even in this life he didn't fit in with the people around him. His heart was like a stone, as if it was wrapped in 10,000 years of ice. No one had ever entered his heart. He didn't expect that. By a fluke of fate, he didn't know when he started to have such a concern in his heart. He had someone who wanted to protect him forever. However, he was just like little Gio had said, he did not know how to express his love. He felt that giving her something to help her solve her problems, and that he could disregard his life and death for her, this was love. He was wrong. Other than these things, love also had tolerance and tolerance, and it was not like one of them was bossy and willful. The next morning, a certain Gio opened her eyes and found herself lying on the bed. Under her head was Biming's arm. This fellow had drunk a little too much last night and he had blacked out. Therefore she did not remember what she said or did. She was afraid that Biming would look for her to settle the score, so she smiled ingratiatingly. "Hi Prince Charming, good morning. Well, I'll prepare some face-washing water for you now." This guy was about to get off the bed when Biming pulled out his arm and said gently, "You lie down. I'll prepare some face-washing water and breakfast for you. I'll call you when it's done." Chujio pinched herself secretly. Damn, it really hurts. Seemed like he wasn't dreaming. Was the pretty boy possessed by a ghost? He looked at Biming in a daze. As expected, Biming got up and left the bedroom. He didn't even put on his shoes and looked out through the crack in the bedroom door. Biming didn't have hot water in his storage ring, so he used his spiritual power to heat up the water. Then he placed breakfast on the table and said to the bedroom with an unprecedented gentleness, "Little Gio, come out and wash up." Chujio shivered. Damn it, it's over. It's over. The pretty boy must have become mentally ill after being scolded by her yesterday. The guy pushed the door open. With a sobbing voice he said, "Prince Charming, the things I scolded you yesterday were all angry words. Don't take it to heart. If you have any discomfort in your heart, hurry up and say it. You can just scold me a few times. Don't be like this. I'm scared. I keep feeling like you've been possessed by a ghost." Biming. Was it difficult to be a virtuous boyfriend? He really wanted to turn back into a wild and arrogant man who hated the heavens and the earth. What was wrong with him? Biming silently recited tolerance and tolerance 3 times in his heart before he did not fly into a rage. However, when he saw the green jade lotus root on the table, he could not help but ask in surprise, "I heard that this green jade lotus root is very rare. Where did you get it?" Chujio crossed her legs. She said proudly, "Yesterday I was not in a good mood because of a breakup, so I went to the back of the mountain to relax. Then I met a rabbit. How was it? My luck is not bad, right? Hee, it will probably take a few days for those idiots from Water Mountain to realize that more than half of the lotus root is missing." Ha! Biming subconsciously wanted to scold her for messing around, but when he thought of tolerance and tolerance, he squeezed out 3 words from between his teeth. "Not bad." After Biming had cut the green jade lotus root, he placed it on the stone table. Chujio picked up a slice. She said in a picky manner, "It's a little thick, but it's okay. You just need to practice more in the future. It's not that I'm criticizing you, but you're quite a big man. You can't even cut the lotus root well. It's really hard to explain." Biming gritted his teeth and endured. Chujio put the lotus root slices into her mouth and her eyes immediately lit up. Damn, the taste was really superb. No wonder Water Mountain treated it as a treasure. Chujio regretted it in her heart. If she had known earlier, she would have gotten all the rest. It was really a miscalculation. She could have stolen it again, but it was too troublesome and the risk was too great. If she was caught, it would not be worth it. This guy ate half a plate of lotus root slices. When he saw Biming sitting opposite him, he blinked his eyes. "Prince Charming, why are you sitting there?" Biming subconsciously thought that Chujio wanted him to eat the lotus root slices. Just as he was about to say that he did not want to eat it, he heard Chujio continue, "Come here. Massage my shoulders. My shoulders are sore from swimming yesterday. This is all your fault. If you did not anger me, would I have gone to the back of the mountain? If I did not go to the back of the mountain, would I have been able to swim? Therefore my sore shoulders are all your fault." Di Biming silently recited tolerance and tolerance 3 times in his heart before he stopped himself from losing his temper. Di Biming stood up and helped Yun Chujio massage her shoulders. This fellow groaned comfortably a few times before he started to find fault. Did you eat your breakfast for nothing? Can you increase your strength? Are you full? Be gentle. Di Biming repeatedly prayed for tolerance and tolerance in his heart. Only then did he resist the urge to slap her away. In short, a certain Jiao had been torturing Di Biming in different ways throughout the day. Di Biming was almost torn apart. At night, a certain Jiao lay on the bed and said slyly, "Walk around the house for me. I want to admire it." Di Biming immediately decided to go to hell with tolerance and tolerance. He couldn't give her face just like that. Di Biming's face was gloomy as he said, "Little Jiao, I've tolerated you for a day. Although we should be tolerant and tolerant between lovers, you shouldn't go too far. You're being evil." Certain Jiao was dumbfounded. It was over. She was showing off. Extreme joy gave birth to sorrow. She regretted it. That male god. I was joking with you. A certain Jiao who was already furious to the point of no return, suddenly, a nosebleed came out. A certain Jiao was shocked and quickly took a handkerchief to wipe Di Biming. Then she said fiercely, "Male god, it's all that damn Go Weibo fault." A certain Jiao's face turned red and she said angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? This venerable self just recently ate a great tonic, so that's why my nose is bleeding." Yun Chujio pursed her lips. Liar. He didn't believe it. With such an interlude, the relationship between the two of them finally returned to normal. Yes, that was the tone of lackey little Jiao and the arrogant certain Jiao. Of course, a certain Jiao was so regretful that her intestines were turning green. If she had known this would happen, she would have taken it easy and acted like a demon no matter what. She was usually quite smart, but why did she go astray when it came to gigolo matters? Yun Chujio hasn't been to Water Mountain these days, so she didn't do it. Fire Mountain's Mountain Master Zhao couldn't help but laugh. "You guys are too paranoid. Although that little girl likes to cause trouble, this lotus pond has layers of protection and an array. Even if she really went to Water Mountain, she wouldn't be able to steal it. Let's find another reason." Everyone thought about it. They had been traumatized by that little girl. The green jade lotus had nothing to do with her. And what they didn't know was that a certain Jiao who had nothing to do with the green jade lotus had already returned to her dorm and was nibbling on a green jade lotus root. Water Mountain had investigated for half a month, but they still couldn't find any clues. Thus, the green jade lotus root incident became a big unsolved case in the murderous Yuan sect. Yun Chujio felt that the limelight had passed, so she started to show up again. Maybe she could make a fortune. This fellow suddenly had a good idea to make a fortune. It was fine if the green jade lotus root needed sunlight, but the green jade prawns were said to like the dark environment. If she could get a few pairs of green jade prawns with both males and females and put them into the underground river, wouldn't she make a fortune then? This fellow had also quietly obtained the green jade prawns. The shrimp pond that was used to breed the green jade prawns was right beside the lotus pond, so this fellow decided to find an opportunity to steal the prawns. After another half a month, this fellow felt that the wind was not so tight anymore. On a dark and windy night for a month, this fellow ran to the mountain behind Jin Feng and instructed Xiao He to start digging holes. The long-eared wind-blade rabbit also came over to help. Yun Chujio told the rabbit to cover the ground with mud after they went down. The rabbit saw the pill that Yun Chujio threw at it and immediately nodded in agreement. Yun Chujio went into the cave and covered the entrance with a stone slab. There was also the silly rabbit on top to help cover the entrance. As long as someone did not look carefully, it was impossible to find any clues. After Yun Chujio went down to the underground river, she planned to swim to the exit of the underground river to block it. This immortal spring was so precious she could not waste it for nothing. Just as she was swimming towards the exit, she noticed that the flow of water had suddenly increased. He was shocked. The flow of water had suddenly increased. There was only one reason, and that was that the exit had become bigger. The exit wouldn't have become bigger for no reason. It must have been man-made. Could it be that someone had sneaked in from the exit? Yun Chujio looked around and found a dent in one of the stone walls. She quickly climbed to the shore, took off the spirit-concealing ring on her hand and carefully held her breath. The dark river was very dark, so Yun Chujio thought that the other party would not notice her. An hour later, Yun Chujio vaguely saw a small boat rowing over. Someone was whispering and chatting. The heavens are really helping our divine devil hall. I didn't expect there to be such a dark river under the Killing Origin sect. After we have explored the exit, we will come without anyone knowing. We will definitely destroy the Killing Origin sect in one fell swoop. That's right. After we have destroyed the Killing Origin sect, there is only the Hunyuan sect left. When that time comes, it will be much easier to deal with. If we are to talk about this matter, it is all thanks to Lord Purpleface. That's right. Lord Purpleface only discovered that tiny stream occasionally, and he was able to determine that the stream was not ordinary. That was why he asked us to investigate it carefully. I didn't expect that there would be such an underground river leading to the Killing Origin sect here. Yun Chujio's heart was like a raging river. She did not expect that she was right. This underground river was actually targeted by the Divine Devil Hall. It was a close call. If the Divine Devil Hall really sent a large group of people to attack from here, the Shuyuan sect would most likely die from a pincer attack from both inside and outside. However, she might really be the Divine Devil Hall's nemesis. Every time they did something bad, she would run into them by chance. This was the so-called ill-fated fate. This fellow rolled her eyes and immediately came up with a good idea. Although she had lost such a good opportunity to make a fortune in the Dark River, it was very worth it to inflict a heavy blow on the Divine Devil Hall. Moreover, she could take the opportunity to make old man Xiaoho bleed a little. This fellow was glad in her heart. Fortunately, the cave entrance that she came down from earlier was slanted. Moreover, she had always been careful and had deliberately blocked both ends of the cave entrance. She was not afraid that the people of the Divine Devil Hall would find out about it. Therefore, Yun Chujio waited patiently for almost 4 hours before the small boat appeared again. However, they did not speak this time, so Yun Chujio did not care too much. They would definitely go back and report it before confirming the exact time of the sneak attack. After another 2 hours, Yun Chujio found that the water speed had increased again. She knew that the people should have reached the exit of the underground river. After a while, Yun Chujio finally swam to the exit of the underground river. She felt that the Divine Demon Hall must have already sent people to guard the exit, so she could not go out and alert them. This guy rolled his eyes and asked Mao Suechu to get a few crystal fish from the Great Void Mystic Realm. These fish were not only very small in size, but they were transparent all over. If one was not careful, they would not be discovered at all. After Yun Chujio established a temporary contract with them, she placed them in the water and told them to report anything unusual to her at any time. After Yun Chujio made the necessary arrangements, she opened the hole and climbed up with sticky silk. The silly rabbit had been obediently guarding nearby. Yun Chujio was very satisfied and gave it some spirit fruits. Then she cleaned up the traces on them and went straight to Master Xiaohu's courtyard. If there was one person who was the least suspicious in the Shuyuan sect, it would be Master Xiaohu. Other than him, it was hard to say who was the spy of the Divine Devil Hall. Therefore, Yun Chujio still trusted Master Xiaohu more, even though this old man Xiaohu was a little stingy. When Master Xiaohu heard that Yun Chujio wanted to see him, he subconsciously did not want to see her. This little girl was like a weasel paying a New Year's visit to a chicken. She must have no good intentions. However, when he thought of Yun Chujio's evil intentions, even if he did not want to see her, he would probably think of a way to let him see her. Therefore, he could only bite the bullet and let her in. Master, I haven't seen you for a few days. You look younger and younger. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Master Xiaohu scolded with a smile. Don't give me that. What are you doing here? Did you get into trouble again? Yun Chujio looked aggrieved. Master, I have been quietly thinking in the dormitory these days. I didn't do anything bad. I came here this time because I have something important to report to you. Master Xiaohu said indifferently. Something important? What can you report to me? Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Master, is it safe here? Don't tell me there are spies. Master Xiaohu became more serious when he saw Yun Chujio's serious look. After opening the isolation array, he said, There are people guarding my courtyard and I have opened the isolation array. Tell me, what is it? Well, didn't the green jade lotus root of Water Mountain go missing a few days ago? Actually, it was me who did it. Yun Chujio said weakly. What the hell? It was really you. I knew it, no one is so wicked except for you. Master Xiaohou slammed the table angrily. Yun Chujio giggled. Look at what you said, didn't I just eat a few lotus roots out of greed? Do you need to raise it to a personal attack? Wicked is too serious. Master Xiaohou really wanted to kill her with a slap. Being immoral was not even enough to describe how bad she was. However, how did she do it? Master Xiaohou calmed his emotions and then asked, the lotus pond on Water Mountain is tightly guarded. You didn't go to Water Mountain. How did you do it? Yun Chujio immediately straightened her back proudly. Master, it's a long story. Didn't I put myself in solitary confinement? I was so bored that I went to the back of the mountain and met a rabbit. Yun Chujio told Master Xiaohou everything that happened except for debeaming. She told Master Xiaohou everything else. Master Xiaohou was stunned. There was an underground river under the murderous origin sect? Moreover, it was the lotus pond that led to the water mountain. No wonder the water in the lotus pond didn't rise even though the immortal spring kept spurting out water. It turned out that the water kept seeping down. They thought that the water had been absorbed by the green jade lotus root, so they didn't have any doubts. Before Master Xiaohou asked in detail. He heard Yun Chujio continue, Master, ever since I heard that the people of the water mountain were very angry because of the loss of the green jade lotus root, I decided to return the remaining green jade lotus root, so I went to the underground river again today. After Master Xiaohou heard Yun Chujio's words, he almost sprayed her face with dew. You fucking lie. With your behavior, how could you have a conscience to return the lotus roots? Maybe you want to steal the rest. Yun Chujio heard Master Xiaohou's doubts and waved her hand. Master, you really wronged me. I'm almost tired of eating. Why would I steal these broken lotus roots? Master Xiaohou was so angry that he snorted. Even if he could eat a few green jade lotus roots, it would be a luxury. This guy was really good. He was actually tired of eating it. It was really infuriating. However, when Master Xiaohou thought of the endless immortal spring water in the underground river, he was very happy. With this water he could completely expand the scale of the cultivation of green jade lotus roots and green jade prawns. Thinking of green jade prawns, Master Xiaohou's heart skipped a beat. He stared at Yun Chujio and asked, Are you planning to steal green jade prawns from the underground river today? Yun Chujio's eyes widened. Master, I have already made a mistake once, how can I make it again? Besides, if I want to eat I can ask Mo Feng for a few. How can he be so stingy as not to give them to me? Master Xiaohou was skeptical and then he asked, You came to me today to admit your mistake? That's one thing. I have another important matter to report to you. The thing is, when I went down to the underground river today I suddenly realized that the water was speeding up, so I became suspicious. Yun Chujio told him about the matter. Master Xiaohou suddenly stood up. Is what you said true? It's absolutely true. Master, it was really a close call this time. If I hadn't happened to go to the underground river, then once the Divine Devil Hall came to cooperate, the consequences would be. Yun Chujio didn't go any further. She knew that Master Xiaohou could imagine the serious consequences. Master Xiaohou's forehead immediately broke out in cold sweat. If it weren't for this little girl's mischievous discovery of the incident between the underground river and the Divine Devil Hall, the murderous origin sect would be in danger. Master Xiaohou only recovered after a long time. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, took out his identity jade token, and was about to summon everyone for a discussion. Master Xiaohou, wait. Are you going to hold a meeting to discuss this matter with everyone? Master Xiaohou nodded. That's right. This matter is of great importance. We must take a long-term plan. Master Xiaohou, if you listen to me, don't tell anyone. Let me tell you, there must be a spy from the Divine Demon Hall in the Killing Origin sect. Moreover, their status might not be low. If you hold a meeting, it would not be worth it to alert the enemy. Master Xiaohou thought for a while. What you said makes sense. But if we don't hold a meeting, what if the Divine Demon Hall attacks the Killing Origin sect from the underground river? It's simple. Let's play along with the plan and do it secretly. Let's do it this way. Yun Chujio's eyes were full of slyness. Master Xiaohou's eyes became brighter and brighter. In the end he laughed out loud and said, All right. Well, do as you say. Master, I've done something amazing. Don't you have something to show for it? A certain Jiu said shamelessly. How about this? We will not pursue the matter of you stealing the green jade lotus root. Master Xiaohou said with a twinkle in his eyes. A certain Jiao obviously did not agree, so the old man and the young man began to bargain. A certain Jiao's words were like a flower falling from the sky. She said something about saving the essence-killing sect from the fire and water, and something about the discovery of the underground river. It brought a lot of money to the essence-killing sect. In the end, the two finally reached an agreement. Every year the green jade lotus root and green jade prawns produced by Water Mountain would be given 1/10 to this fellow. Moreover, in order to protect this fellow's reputation, Master Xiaohou couldn't tell anyone about her stealing the lotus root. Master Xiaohou thought to himself, this fellow is almost like a rat crossing the street. How could there be any reputation left to speak of? In the next few days the murderous Yuan sect was in a state of chaos. It was said that Master Xiaohou had a discerning eye and recognized talents. He handed the heavy responsibility of finding the lotus root thief to Yun Chujiao. Everyone in the murderous Yuan sect felt that Master Xiaohu's head was most likely filled with water. Wasn't this the same as asking a cat to find a fish thief? They didn't know if this fellow would be able to find the fish thief, but she would definitely use her authority to harm the green jade lotus root. Perhaps even the green jade prawns would suffer. Ever since Peak Master Mo of Water Mountain received this news, it was as if he was facing a great enemy. He personally stood guard at the Lotus Pond and Shrimp Pond, afraid that Yun Chujiao would steal it and harm their Water Mountain's treasures. Yun Chujiao, this fellow, used a chicken feather as a command arrow. She personally selected a group of subordinates and strolled around the Killing Origin sect. If this fellow didn't like anyone, he would directly order the arrest of them, under the pretense of interrogating the whereabouts of the green jade lotus root. For a moment, everyone in the Shuyuan sect was afraid that they would be framed by Yun Chujiao in the next moment. The four peak masters jointly requested to see Master Xiaohou, asking him to take back his orders. Unexpectedly, Master Xiaohou stroked his beard and said, "Only a thief knows what the so-called thief is thinking. Therefore, if we let this Yun Chujiao investigate the matter of the green jade lotus root, she will definitely be able to get twice the result with half the effort." The four peak masters felt as if their hearts were going crazy. It seemed that their sect master's head was really wet. What kind of nonsense was this? However, when they saw Master Xiaohu's firm attitude, they had no choice but to give up. After they returned, they each reminded the disciples not to go near Yun Chujiao to avoid suffering. Even if these disciples avoided Yun Chujiao, there were still many people who were arrested for groundless crimes. Moreover, many of them were inner sect disciples, and there were even true disciples. The most infuriating thing was that there were actually quite a number of elders who were also arrested by this fellow. His crime was, instigation. The people from the Essence Murder sect were simply about to explode in anger. The dignified elders would instigate disciples to steal green jade lotus roots. Did you think that everyone was as shameless as you? However, everyone dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. Fortunately, in another month this fellow would be sent back to the Primordial Chaos sect. At that time, their Essence Murder sect would regain its peace. Now that they thought about it, although people from their Killing Origin sect were killed on the competition stage from time to time, their lives were still very peaceful. Their mood was also very happy. Unlike now, where they were like mice being stared at by cats every day, they were living in constant fear. If they were to choose the most unpopular person, Yun Chujiao would definitely be elected with all the votes. She was now the public enemy of the entire Killing Origin sect. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Nearly 1/5 of the people in the murderous Yuan sect had been locked up in the law enforcement hall by Yun Chujiao. It was said that because there were too many people, this fellow passed through the hall in batches. Moreover, all kinds of torture took place in turn. It was simply too horrible to watch. That evening, Yun Chujiao used the excuse of wanting to ask questions and called the disciples of Water Mountain who were guarding the Lotus Pond to the law enforcement office. Peak Master Mo smashed the teacup into pieces. "This is outrageous." This Yun Chujiao originally looked pretty good, but now it seemed like she was a disaster. She called all the disciples who were guarding the Lotus Pond away. The other disciples don't know how to operate the arrays, so how are they going to patrol? Elder Zhu of Water Mountain said, "Peak Master, calm down. How about this? I have nothing to do, so I'll bring a few disciples to guard the Lotus Pond tonight." This sigh, "All right. Then it'll be hard on you." In any case, the Lotus Pond and Shrimp Pond are halfway up the water mountain. There shouldn't be any big problems. Peak Master Mo said helplessly. After Elder Zhu left the meeting hall, he immediately brought a few disciples to the Lotus Pond. When it was almost midnight, Elder Zhu found an excuse to dismiss the few disciples, then opened the array and went to the edge of the Lotus Pond. Not long after, there was movement in the Lotus Pond. People wearing black masks and golden masks continuously swam ashore from inside. One of the leaders, Jin Mian, curled his lips and said, "I thought we would have to go through a lot of trouble this time, but I didn't expect that Yun Chujio has helped us a lot. If it weren't for you guarding here, we would have alerted others." Elder Zhu sneered, "Humph." Everyone said that Yun Chujio was smart, but she was just a crazy girl who jumped up and down. It just so happens that she has locked many people in the law enforcement office of the Golden Peak. When the time comes, we will chop the vegetables with a machete and directly kill all those people to avoid trouble. The golden masked man nodded his head in agreement. "Let's go. There is no time to lose. We will split into 2 groups. A part of us will stay here to guard the entrance of the underground river. If there is an accident, we can retreat at any time. We'll take down the water mountain with our men and use it as a base to coordinate with the people outside to destroy the murderous Yuan sect." Elder Zhu nodded in agreement. He immediately led the golden masked man and more than 1,000 subordinates to the courtyard of Peak Master Mo. To capture a thief, one must first capture the leader. After capturing Peak Master Mo, the rest of the people would be easier to deal with. "Why is there not a single disciple on patrol on this road?" the golden masked man asked in confusion. Elder Zhu laughed sarcastically. "Of course, this is all thanks to that Yun Chujio. Ever since she framed a few disciples who were on patrol to steal the green jade lotus root, no one was willing to stand guard at night. The Peak Master had no choice but to let the disciples stand guard at the outer perimeter, so we were unimpeded within the peak." Although the golden masked man felt a little strange, he was eager to make a contribution and did not think too much about it. He followed Elder Zhu all the way to the outside of Peak Master Mo's courtyard and surrounded it completely. The inside of the courtyard was pitch black. Elder Zhu and the golden masked man looked at each other and the 2 of them joined hands to slap at the courtyard door. The courtyard door fell to the ground with a loud bang, but no one came out of the house. Just as the 2 of them were puzzled, they saw lights suddenly lit up in all directions. At this time, they were already surrounded by thousands of people from the Killing Origin sect. Elder Zhu looked around in disbelief. How was this possible? The first thought in the golden masked man's mind was that Elder Zhu had betrayed them. He was so angry that he slapped Elder Zhu. "You dare to betray Master? You're courting death." Elder Zhu cursed angrily. "When did I betray Master? I don't even know what the hell is going on." Master Xiaohe was not in the mood to listen to their dog-eat-dog fight. With a wave of his hand, the 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. Seeing that the situation was not good, the Jin Mian man hurriedly sent a signal to the people outside, telling them to launch an attack from the outside and disperse the troops here. However, after waiting for a long time, the people outside did not make any movements. He could only fight while retreating, intending to retreat to the Dark River. The Jin Mian man retreated to the surroundings of the Lotus Pond with great difficulty. He saw a team of people already waiting for him. The ground was filled with the corpses of his subordinates. It was obvious that they had all been killed. Jin Mian's head buzzed. The situation was over. With no other choice, he could only bite his index finger under the cover of his men and use a secret technique to escape. Jin Mian managed to escape with great difficulty. He immediately contacted the people who were originally at the stone wall at the exit of the Dark River. There was no way to send out the sound transmission talisman. There was only one reason for this, and that was that those people had also been killed. The golden masked man finally had to face such a fact. Other than a few golden masked men who had used a secret technique to escape like him, the rest of the people from the Divine Devil Temple were either captured or killed. The grand sneak attack plan ended in failure, and it was a crushing defeat. Jin Mian could not figure it out. Their actions were so secretive and well-planned. There was a group of people attacking outside the mountain gate, and there were people guarding the entrance of the underground river. How could they all be killed? It was not until the secret informant of the origin killing sect sent the news that they knew they had been fooled by Yun Chujio again. Catching the thief who had stolen the green jade lotus root was just a cover-up. She had indeed interrogated all the people she had caught, but she did not find the thief. Instead, she found a few informants of the Divine Devil Hall. Moreover, those people who had been caught were not locked up in the law enforcement office. Instead, they had been brought to the outside of the origin killing sect without anyone knowing. They were used to deal with the people of the Divine Devil Hall who were lying in ambush outside. The people outside the stone wall were personally captured by Yun Chujio. According to the informant, Master Xiaoho of the Murder Essence sect had long known about this hidden river. He had always sent people to guard it in secret. This time he deliberately let the people from the Divine Devil Hall crawl into his pockets to beat the dog behind closed doors. After the golden-masked man reported everything to the purple-masked woman, the purple-masked woman was so angry that she gnashed her teeth and said coldly, "You guys go into hiding for a period of time first. When my divine skill is fully mastered, we will take revenge." At this moment, a certain Jiu instantly became the hero of the entire sect from being the public enemy of the entire sect. However, under normal circumstances, a hero would naturally be very popular. However, a hero like her did not have this kind of treatment. Everyone still did not like her. The reason was very simple. This fellow was too cocky. She wanted nothing more than to write the words hero on her forehead and show her merit everywhere. She wanted nothing more than for people to praise her every day. Most importantly, everyone was not stupid. They did not think that Master Xiaoho knew about the hidden river. If he knew about it, why would he waste so much immortal spring water? When they thought about the case of the meritorious minister, a certain Jiu, and the green jade lotus root from before, the answer was obvious. Yun Chujio must have discovered the hidden river when she stole the green jade lotus root. Although she had made up for it, it could not hide the fact that this fellow was a scourge. Seeing this, Yun Chujio did not have any reputation to speak of anyway. She might as well go all out and spend all her time in the killing origin sect. In the end, the four peak masters had no choice but to announce to the public that they were in closed-door cultivation to prevent this fellow from scouring the land again. The people of the killing origin sect only had one wish now, and that was to have the 3-month period come soon, so that this scourge could quickly scram back to the mixed origin sect. Finally, the 3-month period had arrived. On this day, the entire sky-killing sect was filled with a festive atmosphere. There were lanterns and decorations, and everyone's face was filled with a joyful smile. The first thing they said when they met was, "That's great. That scourge has finally left." Master Xiaoho felt that these 3 months were longer than 30 years. Before dawn, he had sent Leng Kuei to pack Yun Chujio into the flying spirit tool and told him to send her to the Chaos Origin sect as soon as possible. It would be best if she never came again. As soon as the flying spirit tool rose into the sky, Yun Chujio heard a tsunami-like cheer coming from the killing origin sect. This guy shamelessly said to Leng Kuei, "Senior brother Leng Sai, it's a burden to be so popular. Listen, they are all calling me to stay. How about I stay in the killing origin sect for another month?" Leng Kuei ignored her and jumped into the cockpit. Full speed ahead. The faster the better. Yun Chujio, damn it, I saved a bunch of ungrateful people. If I knew this would happen, I would have used the underground river to feed the shrimps. However, fortunately, she had hidden more than half of the underground river water in advance. Quack. The original 4-hour journey was shortened to 1.5 hours. After Yun Chujio got off the flying spirit tool, she waved her claws and said, "Senior brother Leng, remember to come and pick me up in 3 months." Before Yun Chujio could finish her words, the flying spirit tool flew away with a swoosh. It was very fast, as if it was running for its life. Soon it turned into a black dot and disappeared from Yun Chujio's sight. Fuck, just you wait. Sooner or later you will cry and beg her to go back. The 2 stone Pishio clearly saw Yun Chujio being despised. The 2 of them sighed silently. This little girl was really amazing. She had only gone to the killing origin sect for 3 months, yet she had already made them so afraid. As expected of Patriarch Yuan Tian's disciple, Yun Chujio naturally did not know what the 2 stone Pishio were thinking. This fellow had wandered into the primordial chaos sect. This fellow had deliberately observed her for a moment. The people of the primordial chaos sect looked at her in a rather normal manner. This fellow thought to himself, The primordial chaos sect is still the best. They are not like the people of the primordial murder sect who are all ungrateful and ungrateful. Not long after Yun Chujio walked out, Jinji and Yi Bingyu came up to welcome her. It had been 3 months since they last met, so the three of them naturally had a lot to talk about. They chatted as they walked. Yun Chujio saw that Jinji's spiritual power had already reached the first layer of the spiritual void tier, and Yi Bingyu had also reached the 9th layer of the spiritual void tier. She was very happy for them, and this fellow also felt a sense of urgency. The spiritual power that she had stored now was enough to break through. All she needed was the process of being struck by lightning in her dantian. The last time she refined pills she had attracted lightning. She would find an opportunity to try it again one day. Yun Chujio told Jinji and Master Bailey to go back first. She had to at least greet Master Bailey when she came back. This guy came to see Master Bailey. Master Bailey knew how to do things better than Master Xiahou. He greeted Master Bailey with a warm smile and then changed the topic. Little Jiu, I heard that you helped the Shiyuan sect a lot a few days ago. I guess you must be tired. In that case you should rest well in the dormitory and don't run around. Yun Chujio felt stifled in her heart. This old man Bailey was like a smiling tiger. The first part of what he said was for the last part. He wanted to lock her up. No way. Yun Chujio avoided answering. Instead she handed 2 green jade roots to Master Bailey. Master Bailey, these 2 green jade roots are my gift to you. Master Bailey didn't refuse. He took them and only nodded. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and handed Master Bailey another white egg. This is also a gift to you. Master Bailey still did not say anything. Yun Chujio felt stifled in her heart. However, this fellow was stingy. She thought to herself, it doesn't matter if you don't say anything. Anyway, she will still come out and take a stroll. If you have the ability, lock her in the hole of reflection. She was more than happy to do so. Thus, this fellow said with a smile, Master Bailey, since there's nothing else, then I will take my leave. Master Bailey originally thought that Yun Chujio would still give him some things, but he did not expect that the little girl would not give it to him. He could only say in disappointment, all right, go back and rest well. I will send someone to visit you at any time. Pooey. Visit my ass. Surveillance is more like it. This fellow wanted to cry but had no tears. She didn't do anything, so how did she become a street rat? Was the matter of the thought cave exposed? Or did she expose the matter of her luring the demonic beasts over and almost razing the Chaos Origin sect to the ground? Yun Chujio came out from Master Bailey's place and went to the big kitchen to see Old Man Yao. Fatty Song and Fatty Luo saw that the little fiend had returned, and their attitude was very respectful, afraid that Yun Chujio would find trouble with them. Yun Chujio ignored them and called Old Man Yao outside. Old Man Yao, this is my gift to you. Yun Chujio said and handed 2 green jade lotus roots to Old Man Yao. Old Man Yao took them and said seriously, little girl, I heard that you have tormented the Shiyuan sect. I'm warning you, the Hunyuan sect is different from the Shiyuan sect. No matter if it's the foundation or the bottom line of tolerance, they are not the same. So you better take it easy. Yun Chujio giggled. Elder Yao, look at what you're saying. It's as if I've caused some trouble. I'm a good disciple who strictly observes the rules of the Hunyuan sect. Old Man Yao sneered. Good disciple? A good disciple who had entered the cave of reflection 3 times? Although he didn't know that the demon beast attack last time had something to do with Yun Chujio, he still felt that it was this little girl who had caused it. Yun Chujio and Old Man Yao continued to chat for a while before she went to find Jinji and Yi Bingyu to catch up. Jinji and Yi Bingyu asked about Yun Chujio's matters in the murderous origin sect. Yun Chujio told them everything she could. Then she took out 3 pill furnaces and the 3 of them started to cook the hot pot. If the people of the primordial murder sect saw this, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood. Because other than the demon beast meat, there were also green jade prawns and green jade lotus roots that the 3 of them cooked. Moreover, there was an unlimited supply so they could eat as much as they wanted. Oh right, tell me quickly. During the time I was away, did our primordial murder sect have any gossip? Yun Chujio asked as she ate. You don't say. There really is one. Yi Bingying finally got her wish and got together with Fan Mingchuan. A few days ago she even went to the kitchen to show off. I reckon that when they hear that you're back, they might show off in front of you tomorrow, Yi Bingyu said as she curled her lips. Yun Chujio felt that this was a good thing. She didn't want to be remembered by that Fan Mingchuan all day long. Two scumbags together would be good for the people. Oh right, there's one more thing. You caused a ruckus in the law enforcement hall of Kaiyong Peak. Those inner sect disciples, especially that Wu Shan, hate you to death. You'd better not go to Kaiyong Peak in the future to avoid trouble, Jin Ji advised. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and nodded. Speaking of this matter, she hadn't thanked Elder Jing for following Master Bailey to save her the last time. Although they had some grudges, it was better to pay him a visit since Elder Jing had saved her. Therefore the next day He Xinju didn't care about what Master Bailey had said about having a good rest. She hopped outside Elder Jing's courtyard on Kaiyong Peak. Elder Jing, I'm here to visit you. Yun Chujio stretched her neck and shouted. Elder Jing was drawing a formation leaf in the room. When he heard Yun Chujio's voice, his hand trembled. Well, this formation leaf was considered useless. Elder Jing was holding his breath. This Yun Chujio was most likely his nemesis. Nothing good would happen to him if he met her. Elder Jing angrily walked outside and opened the courtyard door. He said coldly, I heard that the sect master told you not to wander around. Why did you come to see me? Elder Jing, as the saying goes, a smile is 10 years old. Why do you always have a straight face? Of course I'm here to thank you. If it weren't for you last time, I might have been locked in that self-reflection cave for 500 years. This is a small gift from me. Please accept it. Yun Chujio said and handed Elder Jing a green jade lotus root. This guy was already tired of eating lotus roots. He thought it was a good gift. As the saying goes, one should never hit a smiling person, not to mention a smiling person who was giving gifts. Elder Jing's tone softened a little. Alright, I'll take the things. You can go now. Well, Elder Jing, I have nothing to do. I think you're quite bored. Let's have a chat. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Elder Jing glared at her. Humph. I still have something to do. Please excuse me for not seeing you off. After Elder Jing said that, he closed the courtyard door with a bang. A certain Jiao touched her nose. Bah. Forget it. Who would want to chat with an old man like you? This guy rolled his eyes. He had wanted to ease his relationship with Elder Jing and take the opportunity to learn something about talismans and formations, but now it seemed impossible. Unfortunately, she couldn't enter the second floor of the library as a handyman. Otherwise she could learn by herself. This fellow turned around and left Elder Jing's courtyard. She saw some inner sect disciples standing not far away, looking at her with unfriendly eyes. This fellow raised her eyebrows. Was she looking for trouble? When ordinary people saw such a scene, they would definitely think of a way to avoid it. However, a certain Jew was not an ordinary person. She swaggered towards the crowd. Although the crowd glared at her, no one did anything. After all, they all knew that this fellow was very valiant. She was not afraid of being locked up in a hole of thought. They were afraid. When Yun Chujio saw these inner sect disciples, her heart moved. She actually thought of a good idea. Inner sect disciples would have regular Dharma imparting classes. Other than cultivation techniques, there would also be Dharma imparting classes such as alchemy and talismans. She could totally attend them. Hence, this fellow stopped in his tracks and suddenly turned around to walk towards a disciple. That disciple was shocked and stuttered. What are you going to do? When will you have Dharma imparting classes? The disciple stuttered. There will be a Dharma teaching class on the first day of every month. What are you going to do? Yun Chujio asked again. What about the other peaks? Each peak is different. Tianji Peak is on the 5th day and Migres Peak is on the 10th day. Yun Chujio silently memorized the dates of the Dharma teaching classes in each peak. When she was about to leave, she saw those people staring at her with unfriendly eyes, and her little temper flared up again. She pointed at those inner sect disciples. All of you be careful. If you ever look at me with that kind of unwelcome gaze again, well, go up the life and death arena and kill you. This fellow was completely conditioned. Because he was used to threatening people on the arena in the murderous element sect, he would pick fights with anyone he disliked. Those inner sect disciples were dumbfounded. Their primordial chaos sect had always valued harmony and solidarity. They despised forcing people onto the life and death arena, and it was also something the sect disliked. Therefore they had never seen a certain Jiao who would pick a fight without a word. Therefore they did not know how to react for a while. They were all dumbstruck. Yun Chujio curled her lips and swaggered off. When Yun Chujio had walked far away, everyone was like they had just woken up from a dream and exploded. Fuck. That Yun Chujio stayed in the Killing Origin sect for 3 months. Why does she look like a bandit? Wasn't she the same in the past? She's just more arrogant now. Humph. Sooner or later someone will teach her a lesson. Alright, why do you think she asked about the time for the Dharma impartation class? Could she be up to no good? Anyway, it's not a good thing. Let's inform our fellow disciples from the other peaks about this news so that they will be on guard. Yun Chujio did not know that because of her words, the inner disciples of the 7 peaks were all jittery. They were afraid that this guy would go to their teaching class and cause trouble. The wind soon reached Master Bailey's ears. Master Bailey felt that there were a few more white hairs. He knew that this Yun Chujio would cause trouble as soon as she returned. Thus, Master Bailey personally issued a command from the sect leader. He talked about a lot of things. The main idea was that Yun Chujio was not allowed to leave the foot of Tianshu Peak. If she wanted to go for a walk, she could go to the back of Tianshu Peak. Yun Chujio was holding her breath. Didn't she just want to go and listen to a lesson? Why was she grounded? Fuck, if she was grounded, she could go to the back of the mountain to refine pills. At that time she would not be blamed for destroying the back of the mountain. Who asked Old Man Bailey not to let her run around? However, this guy also knew that she could not let others know that she had the heaven and earth furnace. Anyway, when the time came, she could just say that the heavenly lightning was here to strike her. Therefore, in the dead of night the next day, this guy sneaked to the back of the Tianshu Peak. Yun Chujio found a hidden place, opened the isolation array and began to refine pills. This guy mumbled while refining pills, "Heavenly thunder, oh heavenly thunder, I'm refining pills again, hurry up and strike me. Come to little Gio." This guy refined for quite a while, and seeing that the sky was almost bright, there was no movement, not even the spiritual power ball that Jinji told her about last time, let alone heavenly thunder. This fellow rubbed his chin and pondered. It was probably because he was refining pills in the reflection cave last time that he didn't have enough spiritual power to trigger the spiritual power ball. This time when he was refining pills outside, there was no way to trigger the spiritual power ball. As for heavenly lightning, it was likely that it had learned its lesson and knew that it wouldn't be able to kill her, so it didn't come to assist her. This fellow felt so stifled. Why was it so difficult to get struck by lightning? Did she have to think of a way to enter the meditation cave to absorb the lightning? Perhaps she could try refining pills inside in case it attracted the heavenly lightning. Thus, this fellow packed up her things, then withdrew from the isolation array and returned to her dormitory in a sullen mood. She had left, but the smell of refining pills didn't spread out because of the isolation array just now. As she left, the rich medicinal fragrance immediately attracted many low-level demon beasts in the back mountain. Those demon beasts rushed over one after another. The odd job workers found that among the ruins, only one courtyard was intact. At a glance, it turned out to be Yun Chujio's courtyard. At once, everyone thought that this was Yun Chujio's fault again. These people did not cook or work anymore. They all went to the miscellaneous office to complain. The manager of the miscellaneous office felt that he could not handle this matter, so he ran to the law enforcement office. Manager Zhong's head was buzzing. He knew that once Yun Chujio returned, his law enforcement department would not have a day of peace. Thus, Manager Zhong braced himself and brought a few law enforcement disciples to look for Yun Chujio. From afar he could hear the cries of the demon beasts. Well, the original dormitory area of the servants was now completely occupied by the demon beasts. In fact, these low-level demon beasts did not pose any threat to the safety of the servants. It was just that these demon beasts were specially raised in the back mountain by the mixed origin sect, so the servants did not carry out any hunting. The Hunyuan sect would raise these demon beasts in the back mountain because the demon beasts were more sensitive than humans in certain aspects and could be used as a warning. Moreover, the back mountain was very large. Raising some low-level demon beasts was also to maintain the ecological balance. Manager Zhong led the law enforcement disciples through the encirclement of the demon beasts with great difficulty and saw Yun Chujio eating her breakfast. The crowd was furious. She had caused so much trouble, yet she was still eating and drinking there. It was really great. Yun Chujio, what is going on? Why are these monsters gathering outside your courtyard? Manager Zhong shouted sternly. Yun Chujio spread her hands. I also want to know. I guess they came to relieve my boredom because they saw that I was too bored. This fellow thought to herself that she was also very helpless. She had chased her away, but she couldn't chase her away. What the hell? Didn't she just refine pills for a while? Did she have to stay here and not leave? Nonsense. Nonsense. Manager Zhong saw that Yun Chujio was like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water, so he didn't bother to talk nonsense with her. He ordered the law enforcement disciples and servants to drive away the monsters. The beasts had originally planned to wait for Yun Chujio to continue refining pills, but now that she didn't make any movements and someone came to chase her away, they had no choice but to return to the back of the mountain reluctantly. Manager Zhong also sent people to patrol the edge of the back of the mountain to prevent the beasts from coming out to cause trouble again. Now, a very important question came: how to deal with the culprit. Generally speaking, those who were identified as criminal suspects would have to defend themselves. A certain Geo wished that she could be locked up in a hole of thought, so she completely ignored Manager Zhong's question and acted as if she could do nothing to him. Manager Zhong had no choice but to report it to Elder Chu of the Law Enforcement Department. Elder Chu then rushed to find Master Bailey and told him about the matter. Master Bailey felt that this was just a coincidence. After all, no matter how evil Yun Chujio was, she could not command so many demonic beasts. However, this little girl was really a troublemaker. How could she cause trouble wherever she went? Elder Chu said from the side, "Master, I think this little girl's personality is too naughty. We should temper her personality. Otherwise she will cause trouble again." Master Bailey thought to himself, "Do you think I don't want to?" He had already locked himself in the cave for 3 times, yet he didn't see any progress. Putting everything else aside, if an ordinary Hunyuan sect disciple had gone to the Killing Yuan sect for 3 months, they would definitely be tortured beyond recognition when they returned. But this person, she had almost turned the Killing Yuan sect upside down. Elder Chu smiled. "Sect Master, I know what you're worried about, but I have a way to temper her character." "What way?" Master Bailey asked impatiently. He really couldn't do anything to Yun Chujio now. Although that little girl had caused trouble repeatedly, it wasn't to the extent of being expelled from the sect. "Sect Master, other than the meditation cave, doesn't our primordial chaos sect also have the meditation cave? We can lock her in the meditation cave to temper her temperament. I reckon that when she comes out she will be much more restrained," Elder Chu said as he stroked his beard. Master Bailey's eyes instantly lit up. How could he have forgotten about the meditation cave? The meditation cave wasn't a place to punish disciples. On the contrary, only disciples who were favored by the sect could enter it. The Tranquil Heart Cave could make people feel calmer. This way, when they cultivated, they could get rid of distracting thoughts and avoid inner demons. Since the Tranquil Heart Cave could only accommodate 3 people at most, the competition among the disciples was very fierce. Generally speaking, only the successor disciples were qualified to enter. Good. Good. Elder Chu, tell Manager Zhong to lock Yun Chujio in the Tranquil Heart Cave. Master Bailey finally let out a sigh of relief. No matter how bad-tempered a person was, after staying in the Cave of Tranquility for a period of time, they would be much calmer. Therefore, after this Yun Chujio came out of the cave, she would definitely be able to restrain her mischievous personality. Elder Chu immediately informed Manager Zhong of Master Bailey's intention. Manager Zhong immediately read out the punishment decision in front of everyone. Yun Chujio originally thought that she would be punished to go to the meditation cave, but she didn't expect that she would be brought into some meditation cave now. By the way, what was this meditation cave for? This guy followed the principle of asking if he didn't understand and asked Manager Zhong with a smile, "Manager Zhong, what is the meditation cave?" "It's the same as the meditation cave. Is there any spiritual power attack inside?" Manager Zhong curled his lips. "Only disciples with good aptitude who are valued by the sect have the right to enter the meditation cave. As for you, hee, you big head." Yun Chujio was furious. Wasn't it obvious that she was the only good-for-nothing? Manager Zhong immediately regretted after blabbering. This bad boy was someone who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. It would be bad if he were to fly into a rage. Thus he quickly added, "The Tranquil Heart Cave has the teachings of the previous sect master, and there are also tasks to temper one's mind. Therefore the sect master has high hopes for you to be able to enter. Yun Chujio pursed her lips. She did not think that old man Bailey had high hopes for her. He was probably planning to lock her up and torture her. The Tranquil Heart Cave was an extremely boring place. If she stayed in there for a few months, wouldn't it take her little life? That was not right. Just now Manager Zhong did not say how long he would lock her up. Could it be that he was planning to lock her up for life? Yun Chujio answered her question. Manager Zhong smiled and said, there is no fixed time limit for the Tranquil Heart Cave. As long as you pass the assessment inside, you can be teleported out immediately. Junior sister Yun is so smart. I reckon she will be out in 3 months. So that's the case. So you mean that if I pass the assessment in 3 days I can also be teleported out? The corner of Manager Zhong's eyes twitched. He thought to himself, you really dare to say that? 3 days? With your character you might not be able to come out even after 3 years. Although Manager Zhong was cursing in his heart, he said, of course as long as junior sister Yun can pass the test, she can be teleported out. After hearing Manager Zhong's words, Yun Chujio finally felt at ease. Alright, this fellow had this kind of mysterious confidence. Didn't he just pass the test? It was a piece of cake. Although the surrounding disciples were somewhat envious of Yun Chujio being able to enter the Tranquil Heart Cave, but once they thought that this fellow might be locked inside forever, their hearts instantly felt at ease. It was said that the assessment inside the Tranquil Heart Cave was very patient. This fellow would definitely not be able to come out without a year or so of time. He deserved it. Yun Chujio waved her hand and said to Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu, before your house is built, stay here with me. This fellow actually felt a little guilty. Those demonic beasts did not wait for him to say anything and attacked him. As a result, Jin Ji and Yi Bingju's courtyard was also turned into ruins. Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu naturally gave her some instructions, but they were used to this guy being punished every few days so they weren't too worried. After Yun Chujio gave her instructions, she was escorted to Jingxin Cave. Yun Chujio thought that Jingxin Cave was at the back of Tianji Peak just like Sigua Cave. She didn't expect it to be at the back of Yaoguang Peak. Since Yaoguang Peak was the furthest away from Tianshu Peak, Disaster 9 hadn't come to Yaoguang Peak yet. The disciples of Yaoguang Peak were almost all out, all flocking to the side of Jingxin Cave to watch the show. Most of them had the mentality of gossiping, while a small number of them were extremely unbalanced. These people were mostly inner disciples and some core disciples. This Jingxin Cave was a place where inner disciples and core disciples had to fight for a spot. Who would have thought that Yun Chujio would be able to take advantage of it this time? It was really infuriating. Yun Chujio didn't care what they were thinking. She raised her head and took a look at the so-called Tranquil Heart Cave. Not to mention other things, the words Tranquil Heart Cave were written quite well. Cough cough, at least it was better than what she wrote. The disciple guarding Tranquil Heart Cave had already received Master Bailey's notice. Therefore he only asked a simple question. Then he let Yun Chujio stand in the middle of the teleportation array and sent her into the Tranquil Heart Cave. When Yun Chujio regained her sight, she found that she was already in a large cave. There were 2 disciples who were meditating in the cave. When they saw Yun Chujio enter, they only glanced at her and then continued to meditate. Yun Chujio saw that the 2 of them were wearing the clothes of true disciples. She thought to herself that Manager Zhong really didn't lie to her. Those who entered this Jingxin Cave were all disciples that were favored by the sections. Yun Chujio looked at the 2 of them a few times and then began to look at this so-called Cave of Tranquility. There were words carved around the cave. The words written on them were nothing more than proverbs that would allow one to cultivate one's body and character. Yun Chujio scoffed at this. If one wanted to talk about reason, who could beat her? This fellow walked around and found that other than the words on the wall, there was nothing special. The spiritual energy inside was even denser than outside. Senior brothers, this is the first time we have met. Please take care of me. I am Yun Chujio, the handyman in the kitchen. How should I address you? These 2 had already been in the Tranquil Heart Cave for almost 2 months. Moreover, they were usually engrossed in cultivation, so they had never heard of Yun Chujio. Hearing Yun Chujio's words, they were all stunned. The worst that could enter this Tranquil Heart Cave was an inner sect disciple. How did a handyman like her get in? When the 2 of them saw that Yun Chujio was actually at the 6th level of the Ling Xian realm, they were even more puzzled. Could it be that in the 3 months they had been here, the primordial chaos sect had undergone such a great change? The two of them looked at each other and said, "And Chuan of Alcade Peak. Shengguan Hao of Migres Peak." Yun Chujio nodded. "So it's senior brother and senior brother Shengguan. Nice to meet you. How long have you two been here? Is it fun in here?" And Chuan and Shengguan Hao's eyes twitched. Fun. Was the Tranquil Heart Cave a fun place? Could it be that this Yun Chujio was specially sent by the sect to temper their temperaments? However, Shengguan Hao still replied, "We've been here for nearly 2 months. This is a place to temper our temperaments. Naturally, there's nothing fun about it. Junior sister Yun, we're going to meditate and cultivate. Please go ahead." If an ordinary person heard this, they would immediately shut up. However, Yun Chujio said, "Senior brother Shengguan, what you said is wrong. Didn't you already say that? You are here to temper your minds. Since you are here to temper your minds, why are you all meditating and tempering your minds? If you want to meditate outside, you can meditate at any time. Why do you have to come here to meditate?" And Chuan and Shengguan Hao were confused by this guy's preposterous words. It made sense. It seemed like it was a waste for them to meditate in this cave of tranquility. However, what else could they do without meditation? They had memorized the proverbs on the wall thoroughly. As for the task of the test, it would only start at a fixed time. They really had nothing to do. "Senior brothers, let's play cards. We have nothing to do. Let me tell you, this card game is also to temper our minds. Because we want to win without being arrogant or discouraged. If we can't win, we can be smug, and if we can't lose, we can't be impatient," Yun Chujio said as she took out the self-made cards. What nonsense. And Chuan and Shengguan Hao were dumbfounded. Why were they talking about how to temper their minds just now, and now they were talking about playing cards? It was the first time they heard that playing cards could temper one's mind. However, the two of them thought that Yun Chujio was most likely sent by the sect to temper them. How about playing a few rounds? In addition, the two of them were indeed bored after being locked up here for more than 2 months, so they agreed after some hesitation. Therefore, the three of them began to play cards. On the other side, after the news of Yun Chujio being locked up in the Tranquil Heart Cave spread, a few restless people came to the meeting hall of Dubhe Peak to see Master Bailey. Of course, these restless people basically had connections with Yun Chujio. The first one to bear the brunt was Mountain Master Zhua of Tianji Peak. In another 3 months, another snow jade silkworm would be mating. If Yun Chujio didn't come out by then, what would happen to his snow jade silkworm? Elder Jing was the second to arrive. His thoughts were completely different from Mountain Master Zhua's. He wished that he could lock Yun Chujio up in the Tranquil Heart Cave for a period of time so that she wouldn't come out to cause trouble. As for the other 5 peak masters, they were here to watch the show. Although Yun Chujio was a troublemaker, it had to be said that it was because she had returned that there would be a show every 2 to 3 days. Seeing that everyone's focus was on Yun Chujio, Master Bailey explained the matter briefly. Then he said, "Mountain Master Zhua, you don't have to be anxious. If she doesn't come out in 3 months, we can discuss it then. No matter what, let her stay in the Tranquil Heart Cave for a period of time first to temper her temperament. Otherwise, I'm really afraid of repeating the same mistakes as the murderous Yuan sect." When everyone heard Master Bailey's words, they all nodded their heads in agreement. They already knew most of the matters of the Essence Murder sect. Although Yun Chujio had resolved a disaster for the Essence Murder sect, this fellow had also caused a lot of trouble for the Essence Murder sect. Scamming countless disciples was secondary. It was said that this fellow had almost blown up 20 self-reflection holes in the Essence Murder sect. Moreover, he had stolen more than half of the green jade lotus root. If it wasn't for the matter at the Divine Devil Hall, the green jade prawns would probably have been killed as well. That's right, there was also that thorn of his. After hundreds of thousands of years, it finally bore a black egg, but it was swallowed by this fellow. Fortunately, he still had a conscience and gave a seed to the wood peak. When everyone thought of this, they suddenly felt that Master Bailey was really too wise. He was right. Such a thing should be locked up so that it would not come out to harm others. Mountain Master, he had a quick temper. He raised his loud voice and said, "Didn't you say that we can watch the scene inside the Tranquil Cave in real time? Old Jing, hurry up and show it to us. I reckon that little girl must be so bored that she's about to bang her head against the wall, right?" After being reminded by Mountain Master everyone finally remembered that the meditation cave was an ancient magic formation, but the tranquil cave was not. The meditation cave had been built by the disciples of the primordial chaos sect in recent generations. Therefore, Elder Jing was very familiar with the formation of the meditation cave. Therefore, Elder Jing took out a shadow stone. After forming a seal, the situation inside the meditation cave appeared on the shadow stone. When everyone saw the image on it, they almost vomited blood. Inside the meditation cave, 3 people each sat on a small stool with a table in the middle. They were playing cards. Moreover, 2 of the male disciples had a lot of notes stuck on their foreheads. That bad guy was smiling brightly. Did I see wrong? They seem to be playing cards. Mountain Master rubbed his eyes and said uncertainly. What did I see wrong? They are playing cards. I'm so angry. That brat Linchuan, I let him go in to temper his mind, but he actually played cards with that Yunchujio. He's really not good. The one who spoke was Mountain Master and of Alcade Peak. And Linchuan was his son and he had always placed high hopes on him. He originally felt that Linchuan's character was a little unstable, which was why he sent him to the Tranquil Heart Cave. He originally thought that it would have some effect, but now that he saw it, he almost exploded in anger. This bastard brat actually played cards with that bad news bag. It was fine if he played, but it seemed like he had lost miserably. It was really embarrassing. On the other side, Peak Master Shen of Migres Peak also had a bad look on his face. Shangguan Hao was his disciple and he was usually quite steady. Why was he also fooling around? Really, you guys are really. Sect Master, I see that you locked Yun Chujio into the Tranquil Heart Cave not to temper her temperament, but to temper the temperament of those 2 scoundrels. Mountain Master, he said with a wide grin, he thought that Yun Chujio was really interesting. How could she think of playing cards in the Tranquil Heart Cave? Mountain Master Zhua of Tianji Peak said weakly, well, maybe this idea wasn't put forward by Yun Chujio. Could it be that it was put forward by the other 2 people? The others couldn't be bothered with him. He asked such a stupid question. Besides that bad guy, who else in the Chaos Origin sect would do something like playing cards in the Tranquil Heart Cave? Mountain Master Zhua rubbed his nose. Alright, just pretend that he didn't say anything. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. All of a sudden, the meeting hall was eerily quiet. Master Bailey's face turned green and red and white. He had thought that this was a good way to temper the little girl's character, but who would have thought that this fellow would lead the 2 good children astray as soon as he entered? Suddenly, Elder Jing snorted coldly. Don't worry, let her gloat for a while first. When it's time to complete the mission, she'll know how powerful she is. Everyone thought for a moment. That's right. There was still a mission in the Tranquil Heart Cave. If she couldn't finish the mission, she wouldn't be able to come out. Therefore, she had no choice but to finish the mission. Elder Jing continued, you guys stay here and watch. I'll go to the Formation Eye to make some changes and increase the difficulty of the mission. Mountain Master Zhua wanted to stop her, but he held back when he saw the expressions of Mountain Master and Mountain Master Shen. Little girl, it's not that I don't want to help you, but you're just too unpopular. Inside the Tranquil Heart Cave, the 3 of them were having a great time. It was the first time that Linchuan and Shangguan Hao had played the so-called Fight the Landlord. Naturally, they had lost miserably, but the 2 of them were addicted to it. At this moment, a dignified voice sounded, the Tranquil Heart mission will be activated immediately. And Linchuan said in annoyance, oh no. I almost forgot about the Tranquil Heart mission. Junior sister Little Jiu, you can just learn from us later. Actually, the mission isn't difficult, but it requires patience. After playing cards for a while, Junior sister Yun had become Junior sister Xiaojiu. It had to be said that Yun Chujia's ability to win people's hearts was really superb. Yun Chujiu nodded. She was still very curious about the so-called meditation mission, and it seemed to mean that there was more than one mission. Yun Chujio put the cards and the pony into her storage ring and waited expectantly for the so-called meditation mission 1. A moment later, several colorful bubbles appeared in the stone room and flew in the air like mischievous butterflies. Yun Chujio was dumbfounded. What was she doing? The person who designed this stage might not be very smart. If it were her, she would get some edible spirit fruits and fly in the air. If she caught them, she could still eat them. At this moment, the voice from before said, the rule of the meditation task is to catch the corresponding color bubbles. You will pass the stage after accumulating 100 of them. Yun Chujio could not help but wonder what kind of mission was this. Couldn't he just grab them with a casual grab? What was so difficult about it? And Lin Chuan seemed to have seen through Yun Chujio's thoughts and said with a bitter face, "Junior sister Xiaojiu, do you think that this mission is very simple? Then you are wrong. Not only were these bubbles very agile, but they also changed color. Look, that one is now red. If you don't seize the opportunity to grab it, it will change into another color in the next moment. Most importantly, these bubbles are very fragile. If you hit them lightly, they will escape. If you hit them hard, they will break. Therefore, senior brother Shangguan and I can only catch 2 or 3 bubbles in a day." Yun Chujio nodded. Sounded really difficult and torturous. "By the way, senior brother, and how do I know what my corresponding color is?" Yun Chujio asked curiously. "This is very simple. I will give you a bubble. You can catch whatever color the bubble is," and Lin Chuan explained. Before Yun Chujio could answer, the voice from before announced, "The meditation mission is officially open." As soon as the voice fell, the bubble that was not flying very quickly began to fly rapidly. It was difficult to even find the bubble that she wanted to catch, let alone catch it. The bubbles and Lin Chuan wanted to capture were red, while the bubbles Shangguan Hao wanted to capture were yellow. Seeing that the mission had begun, the two of them quickly began to capture the corresponding color bubbles. Yun Chujio stretched her neck and waited for a long time, but none of the bubbles flew towards her. This fellow was anxious. She pointed at the bubbles with her hands on her waist and cursed, "Which one is mine? Hurry up and fly over. If you still don't come over, I'll use lightning to chop you all into pieces." Finally, a bubble flew towards Yun Chujio with a crooked shape. Yun Chujio saw the color of the bubble and was so angry that she wanted to bang her head against the wall. What happened to the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple? What the fuck was wrong with giving her a black one? Was he trying to make her unable to complete the mission forever? In the meeting hall, Mountain Master, he laughed unkindly. "Ha! Old Jing is really too wicked. He must be taking revenge for his personal grudge. There is no black in those bubbles at all. Isn't it obvious that he is trying to make the little girl unable to complete the mission?" The others also laughed. This elder Jing was really mean. Now they would see what the little girl would do. She would probably be so angry that she would hit the wall. At this time, the bubble had already flown into Yun Chujio's hand. It was pitch black, just like Yun Chujio's current face. This guy threw the 2 bamboo baskets filled with talismans on the ground and snorted coldly. "Whether it's the Qi Ling or the person behind the array formation, listen to me. Either you change the color of the bubbles in my hand to another color, or you add black bubbles into those bubbles, or I'll blow up the Tranquil Heart Cave. If you don't believe me, let's give it a try." And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao, who were still trying their best to catch the bubbles, were almost scared to death. What the hell was that? Blow up the Cave of Tranquility? Was this junior sister Jio's brain damaged? Besides, were there really talismans in those 2 big bamboo baskets? Could it be some worthless low-level talismans? The 2 of them couldn't be bothered to catch the bubbles. After all, they didn't need another day or 2. They bent down to take a look. Oh God. They were all flame-burst talismans and they were all high-grade. Where did this little girl get so many talismans? The 2 of them were shocked, and the people in the meeting hall were even more shocked. It's over. As I said, those who get close to the vermilion bird will be red, while those who get close to the ink will be black. This Yun Chujio was originally also mischievous, but she didn't need to be so bold. Now she has stayed in the Killing Yuan sect for 3 months. Now she is simply a devil of the chaotic world. Mountain Master and said angrily. That's right, this little girl is too bold. No wonder she dared to blow up the self-reflection cave of the Killing Yuan sect. She is simply too bold. Mountain Master Shen echoed with a gloomy face. I think this little girl's character is not bad. If he can't do it, then beat her up. A cultivator must have such a domineering attitude. Mountain Master, he said with his mouth wide open. Mountain Master Shwa swallowed his saliva. He thought to himself, if this really blew up the Tranquil Heart Cave, he would probably be locked in the meditation cave for a few years. When that time came, what would happen to his snow jade silkworm? Thus, Mountain Master Shwa hurriedly said to Master Bailey, Sect Master, hurry up and ask old Jing to calm down. Don't force that little girl into a corner. This old Jing is the same. Even if you did something, don't be so obvious. Isn't this clearly making the little girl explode? Master Bailey only felt his head buzzing. If he had known earlier, he would have locked her up in the cave of reflection. If he let her blow up the cave of meditation, he would simply be a sinner of the primordial chaos sect. Master Bailey quickly sent a message to Elder Jing, asking him to think of a way to appease Yun Chujio, so that she wouldn't really blow up the cave of tranquility. Soon Yun Chujio discovered that black bubbles began to appear in the bubbles floating in the air. However, compared to other colored bubbles, there were pitifully few black bubbles. However, she also knew that she should stop now. If she continued to cause trouble, it would not end well. Therefore, this guy put away the 2 baskets of talismans and said to the 2 people who were dumbstruck, "Why are you looking at me? Hurry up and catch the bubbles." And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao nodded blankly. They seemed to understand why this guy was locked in the cave of tranquility. Yun Chujio jumped up. When she saw a black bubble, the bubble flew away with a whoosh. This guy thought that she must have been too careless. So she jumped up again. This time, the tip of her hand had already touched the black bubble. Unexpectedly, the bubble turned green and failed again. This guy was so tired that he finally caught a bubble. Unexpectedly, he accidentally used too much force and burst. This guy was so busy that his forehead was covered in sweat, but in the end he didn't catch a single bubble. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were in a better condition than her, and each of them caught 2 bubbles. When the mission was over, a mission board appeared. The number under Lin Chuan's name was 162, and under Shangguan Hao's name was 168. The 2 of them were almost the same. As for Yun Chujio's name, there was only the pitiful one after it, as it was a gift. And Lin Chuan was afraid that Yun Chujio would get angry. He quickly tried to persuade her. "Junior Sister Jio, the first day is inevitably a little strange. We only caught it after getting used to it for a few days. After you catch it for a few days, you will slowly learn some skills. Don't be anxious." "Yes, Junior Sister Jio. Practice makes perfect. It will be fine slowly." Shangguan Hao also tried to persuade her. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio giggled. "You don't have to persuade me. It's just some broken bubbles, right? I just wanted to hide in this cave of tranquility for a few days. When I went out, there was no one to play cards with me, so I deliberately didn't catch them." And Lin Chuan, Shangguan Hao, "Can you die if you don't brag? Just pretend." Who was the one who jumped around and cursed for a long time because he didn't catch the black bubble? Who was the one who was so angry that he burst the blue bubble because the black bubble he was about to catch had turned blue? However, the meeting hall was filled with cheers and laughter, especially Elder Jing, who had returned triumphantly. He was as proud as he could be, and he could finally take revenge for what he had done in the entrance exam. Master Bailey looked at the crowd speechlessly. "You guys really have nothing better to do." However, since they all wanted to stay, it wasn't good for him to chase them away. Besides, he also wanted to see what kind of earth-shaking, earth-shattering behavior that bad news bag would do next. At this time, inside the cave of tranquility, the 3 of them once again set up a small table to play cards. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao originally thought that Yun Chujio was pretending as if nothing had happened. In fact, she was very depressed. However, after a while they realized that this guy really didn't take the matter of bubbles to heart. He was smiling brilliantly. And Lin Chuan saw that this guy was smiling without any heart. He couldn't help but remind her, "Junior Sister Jio, are you really not worried about the matter of bubbles? You can only go out when you have accumulated 100 pieces. I heard that there was once a senior brother who was locked up in this cave of tranquility for more than a year before he went out. There are always more ways than difficulties. Isn't it useless to worry? If that's the case, what's the point of worrying so much? Let's play cards first. After the game is over, I'll think about it carefully. I'll definitely think of a good way to get twice the result with half the effort." Ah, bombs. "You guys lost again." And Lin Chuan was holding his breath. He kindly reminded her that she actually won again when they were distracted. He didn't believe that she could always lose after playing cards. Shangguan Hao's temperament was more stable than in Lin Chuan's. He asked with a smile, "Junior Sister Jio, why were you locked in the cave of tranquility? I think you came in for a different reason than us." Yun Chujio pouted. "Don't mention it. I don't know what's wrong with the sect master. Ever since I came back from the murderous Yuan sect, he has been targeting me everywhere, grounded and monitored. I don't know what happened last night. The demonic beasts at the back of Tianshu Peak destroyed the yard of the odd job workers. He put the blame on my head. Do you think I'm innocent? And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were stunned. The murderous Yuan sect. Why did she go to the murderous Yuan sect all of a sudden? When the two of them asked, Yun Chujio told them about her heroic deeds. She told them about how she cheated the disciples of the murderous Yuan sect of 300 million spirit stones and almost blew up their self-reflection cave. She also told them about how she saved the murderous origin sect while stealing the green jade lotus root. The cards in Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao's hands fell to the ground. Oh God, master of the sect, what are you thinking? Are you sure that you are not messing with them by locking such a bad bag with them? After Lin Chuan finished speaking, he looked at Yun Chujia's expression. He thought that after hearing what he said, Yun Chujia would definitely show a worried expression. Who would have thought that the little girl in front of him would show an eager expression? She seemed to be impatient. Really? It's great. Then I won't be bored anymore. I want to see how perverted the missions in this cave of tranquility are. Will there be another one like me? And Lin Chuan, Shangguan Hao, all right, you win. You're crazy. As the three of them were talking, they heard the mission notification. The meditation mission will be activated immediately. And Lin Chuan said in surprise, why is it still mission 1? Normally the same mission will not appear twice a day. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Maybe this mission was specifically targeted at her? However, there was always a way to solve it. Soon the mission officially began. 7 colored bubbles appeared in the air again. To be exact, they were 8 colored bubbles because there were a few pitiful black bubbles occasionally. Even though Yun Chujio tried her best this time, she still couldn't catch a single black bubble. A certain Jiao said nonchalantly before Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao could comfort her, I'm just warming up. We'll catch at least 10 or 8 black bubbles the next time I start the mission. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao didn't say a word. They thought to themselves, just keep bragging. After about 2 hours, the meditation mission started again. This time Yun Chujio still ended up so miserable that she didn't catch a single black bubble. The atmosphere in the meeting hall was exceptionally joyous. Everyone felt extremely comfortable in their hearts. So what if the little girl was able to cause trouble? Wasn't she still tormented to the point of losing her temper? As long as she did it a few more times, her short temper would definitely be worn down by quite a bit. After that, she would use the next task to continue polishing her temper. She believed that in the end she would definitely be able to turn a rotten trick into a miracle and let this bad news bag rest a little in the future. Mountain Masters was silently cheered for a certain Jiao in his heart. Little girl, you have to work hard. You have to live up to your expectations. The snow jade silkworm is still waiting for you. Inside the tranquil heart cave, and Lin Chuan carefully glanced at a certain Jiao whose expression was gloomy. He thought to himself, didn't this fellow just say that he didn't take it to heart? Why did his expression change at this moment? Just as he was thinking about it, he heard Yun Chujio gnashing her teeth and saying, damn it. It's true that I can't tolerate it anymore. It's only the 3rd time. He's just making fun of me. I'm not playing cards anymore. I need to think of a countermeasure. I want to show the people behind me my power. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao looked at each other. Thinking of a countermeasure? Wasn't catching bubbles meant to calm one's mind and speed up? What other countermeasures could there be? Yun Chujio began to pace back and forth in the cave of tranquility. The images of those bubbles flashed through her mind quickly. The crux of the problem now was that when the bubbles of various colors were mixed together when catching the black bubbles, the black bubbles were mixed within and it was very difficult to catch them. Moreover, these damn bubbles would change color and the changes were irregular. They changed color randomly, so there was no way to predict which bubbles would turn black in the next moment. If they were all black bubbles, why would she be worried? She had already caught dozens of them. As she thought about it, her eyes lit up. He had it. She stopped and walked to Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao's side. They were puzzled at first, then revealed a look of realization. A moment later, the meditation mission was activated once again. Everyone in the meeting hall was stunned to discover that the little girl seemed to have gone mad. They saw that the little girl was holding a treasured sword and began to pop bubbles. In a short while there were only a few dozen bubbles left and they floated pitifully on top. Everyone was puzzled. Could it be that the little girl had gone mad because she had suffered too much? Besides, why did the two disciples let her destroy them? Did they not want to complete the mission? Mountain Master Zhuo rolled his eyes. He seemed to understand Yun Chujia's intention. Tiske, what a smart little girl. Old Jing was going to be slapped in the face again. Just as everyone was puzzled, one of the floating bubbles turned black. Yun Chuju jumped up and grabbed at the bubble. The bubble tried its best to dodge. Unfortunately, if there were more bubbles, it could hide in them. There were only a few dozen bubbles in the air. It was too difficult for it to dodge Yun Chujia's claws. Yun Chujio caught the bubble as she wished and landed lightly on the ground. After a while, another bubble turned black. Yun Chuju did the same and caught another bubble. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao would occasionally jump up, but their goal was obviously not to catch the corresponding color of the bubbles, but to help Yun Chujio intercept the black bubbles. By the time the mission ended, Yun Chujio had already caught 6 bubbles, and this was because the probability of the black bubbles appearing was relatively small. Otherwise 10 would not be a problem. The meeting hall was eerily quiet. They were not stupid, so how could they not understand Yun Chujia's intention at this time? This was called not breaking or establishing. She would rather give up more bubbles and only keep the number that she could control. This way, as long as there were black bubbles inside, Yun Chujia would definitely be able to catch them. Moreover, there was in Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao's help. At this rate, as she became more and more proficient, she could definitely leave more bubbles. She estimated that she would be able to complete the mission in 10 days at most. Mountain Master, he grinned and laughed loudly. Old Zhuo, haha, I finally understand a sentence today. The devil is stronger than the ruler. It seems that you can't outsmart that little girl. Elder Jing was so angry that he was twitching. He glared fiercely at Mountain Master. He sneered and said, don't be too full of yourself. Although that Yun Chujio is a little clever, the Tranquil Heart Cave has a total of 5 missions. This is only the first mission. The subsequent missions are more difficult than the previous ones. There will be times when she will cry. Mountain Master, he curled his lips. I think you should be the one who cries in the end. Anyway, I think highly of that little girl. Mountain Master, he silently cheered for Mountain Master, he in his heart. Well said. He also thought highly of that little girl. The final victory would definitely belong to that little girl. Of course, Mountain Master and Mountain Master Shen naturally favored Elder Jing. Especially when they saw that Lin Chuan and Mountain Master were actually aiding the wicked. They were so angry that they were twitching. These two good-for-nothings in order to help that little girl. They actually stopped doing their own missions. Just what kind of bewitching soup did she give them? Just as the two of them were thinking about it, they saw that dinner was served in the Tranquil Heart Cave. Mountain Master, he roared, you look. They actually used the pill furnace as a hot pot. This was nothing. Weren't those the extremely precious green jade prawns and green jade lotus roots of the Essence Murder sect? No wonder those two brats helped that little girl. So it was to eat. How useless. As he spoke, Mountain Master, he could not help but swallow his saliva. Actually, he also wanted to eat. He did not know if that little girl still needed help to intercept Bubbles people. Just as Yun Chujio was thinking about it, she saw countless arrows floating in the air from all directions. However, these arrows did not seem to be real. Instead, they seemed to be illusory. The mission voice rang out with a notification. This round of mission doesn't allow spiritual attacks, doesn't allow the use of spiritual energy shields, doesn't allow the activation of defensive spiritual artifacts. Continue to hold on for 4 hours without getting hit by the arrows. What the hell? Doesn't allow spiritual attacks. Doesn't allow the use of spiritual energy shields. Doesn't allow the activation of defensive spiritual artifacts. Could it be that she was waiting to be shot into a porcupine? And Lin Chuan reminded her from the side, Junior sister little Jiao, although there are many restrictions, you can use your weapon to hit these arrows. However, these arrows are endless. Senior brother Shangguan and I have practiced for more than 2 months, but we can only last for an hour and a half. Only then did Yun Chujio come to a realization. She had said that if she didn't use anything and there were arrows everywhere, She wouldn't be able to dodge them even if she wanted to. Just as she was pondering, she heard the mission announcement. The arrows that were floating suddenly became sharp and shot towards the three of them. If one looked closely, they would find that more than half of the arrows were shot towards Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio quickly took out her rolling pin and finally managed to protect herself for the time being. She stole a glance and saw that Shangguan Hao and Enlinchuan were much more relaxed than her. The swords in their hands flew up and down, protecting their bodies tightly. This guy rolled his eyes. "Senior brothers, come here. Come here quickly. Let's form a triangle. This way we can save more than half of our strength and we can all pass." Enlinchuan and Shangguan Hao were stunned. Damn it, compared to this little girl they were like idiots. It had been more than 2 months and the two of them had never thought of working together. Even if they were back to back they could still save a lot of strength. They were so stupid. The two of them didn't have time to think and quickly retreated to Yun Chujio's side. The three of them formed a triangle and the pressure was greatly reduced. Moreover, Yun Chujio realized that there were more arrows flying towards her, so she changed her direction after a while. This way she could take a breather while the arrows did not react. There was a strange silence in the meeting hall again. They had imagined many scenarios, but they had never thought that this so-called perverted mission would be so easily solved by that little girl. They had only guessed the beginning but not the end. They felt as if they had suffered a 10,000-point critical hit. Mountain Master, he laughed loudly. "Old Jing, how was it? You lost again, right? I advise you not to watch here lest you end up being hit so hard that you want to hit the wall." Elder Jing's face was gloomy. He took out his identity jade token and gave a few instructions to his disciples. Then he said to Mountain Master, "Humph. The second mission must be completed independently. They are cheating. I have already instructed them to declare the test invalid." Mountain Master, "Good, very good. This old thing is getting more and more shameless." 4 hours later, just as Enlinchuan was about to celebrate his victory, he heard the voice of the mission say, "This round of the mission must be completed independently. You were cheating just now, so your results will be cancelled. 2 hours later, the meditation mission 2 will be activated again." And Linchuan cursed angrily, "Damn it. Why didn't you say so earlier? Why did you wait until we were exhausted to say that you were just playing with us? There's no way to recover my strength in 2 hours. I'll just wait for those arrows to shoot at me later. Anyway, they're just illusions, so they only have a few red dots on my body." Although Shangguan Hao was also quite depressed, he was obviously calmer. "Forget it. Anyway, we entered the Cave of Tranquility to temper ourselves. It's okay to try a few more times." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. "Come, let's continue eating and replenish our strength. I just found out that more than half of the arrows are aimed at me. You might be able to hold on for 4 hours in one go." And Linchuan and Shangguan Hao did not pay much attention to it just now. Now that they heard what Yun Chujio said, they realized that it was true. The two of them looked at Yun Chujio sympathetically. No wonder there were so many missions today. It turned out that they were all aimed at her. She had just entered the sect not long ago, but she had already attracted the wrath of the heavens and the resentment of the people. Junior sister little Gio was really a talent. And Linchuan laughed out loud. "Junior sister little ninth is right. I have to eat more and strive to complete the mission in one go later. Junior sister little ninth, you don't have to be anxious. There will always be a way out. Who knows, you might come up with some good ideas later. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time." Yun Chujio actually had a way. In the past she could command 8 immortal swords at the same time. With the strengthening of her spiritual sense, it was not a problem for her to command 12 swords at the same time. She could completely protect herself. However, she felt that it was best not to let others know about the abnormality of her spiritual sense, so she did not plan to expose it. Then the problem came. She could not hold on for 4 hours with only the rolling pin. Moreover, the mission given to her was an enhanced version. Forget it, let's wait and see. There will always be a way. The three of them continued to eat hot pot. And Linchuan saw that Yun Chujio did not eat much green jade prawns and green jade lotus root. He wondered if little ninth junior sister did not have much in total, so she could not bear to eat it and left it for him and senior brother Shangguan to eat. And Linchuan was moved and said, Little ninth junior sister, these green jade lotus root and green jade prawns are rare. Senior brother Shangguan and I can taste them. You eat too. Yun Chujio said with disdain, you guys can eat them. I thought they were quite delicious at the beginning, but I got tired of them after eating too much. Now I feel that they are not as delicious as the beef shabu. And Lin Chuan, can I feed the dog the feelings I felt just now? After the three of them ate, half an hour later the second meditation task began again. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao started to pull the arrows around them with all their might, intending to complete the task today. As for Yun Chujio, she sat on the small stool and set up a spiritual energy shield to protect herself. She held her chin and watched Lin Chuan and the others busy themselves. Everyone in the meeting hall was so angry that they were twitching. They were still waiting to see the little girl being shot into a hedgehog, but she was fine. Was she just throwing her life away? Did she not want to pass it all? Not long after, the little girl's spiritual energy barrier turned red. Needless to say, it was the mark of an arrow. Yet the little girl was still very leisurely. She was holding a spiritual fruit in her hand as she chewed on it and cheered for Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao. Elder Jing snorted coldly. See that? Even if she has a belly full of bad water, there's nothing she can do. If she continues to be like this, she won't be able to come out for the rest of her life. Mountain Master, he was unconvinced and shouted, maybe the little girl just ate too much and doesn't want to move. If she had no other choice, would she be so carefree? She must have a plan. Elder Jing was naturally unconvinced, so the two of them started arguing again. Master Bailey felt that a few more strands of his hair had turned white. Weren't these two old geezers idle? Before Shangguan Hao could say anything, and Lin Chuan laughed out loud. Junior sister Jiao, it seems like you don't know anything about sword cultivation. Sword cultivators can only comprehend sword intent after cultivating sword chi. Besides, sword intent isn't like cabbages. Not every sword cultivator can comprehend sword intent. That might not be the case. There are also those who can comprehend sword intent before cultivating sword chi. Yun Chujio's eyes flashed as she said. And Lin Chuan smiled and did not argue with Yun Chujio. He felt that junior sister Jiao might have been struck dumb by the arrows just now, so she spoke nonsense. And Lin Chuan did not mention it again, and Yun Chujio did not continue. She thought that she could try her chicken slaughtering swordsmanship later. Although this swordsmanship did not have any offensive ability, it should not be a problem to use sword intent to block the arrows. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were afraid that Yun Chujio would get angry, so they avoided this topic and started chatting. Of course, at the beginning, it was the three of them who talked, but in the end it was a certain Jiao who gave the speech alone. Anyway, the things that this guy had experienced were all strange. One of them was enough to talk for a long time. In addition, she talked vividly, so Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao listened with great interest. The people in the meeting hall couldn't hear what they were saying. In any case, they could only see Yun Chujio talking in high spirits, while the two silly boys listened attentively. Mountain Master and Mountain Master Shin simply couldn't bear to look at her. They decided that after Lin Chuan and the others came out, they would definitely cut off their interaction with that bad news bag. Otherwise, if they were sold, they would have to help count the money. However, that little girl was really heartless. Wasn't she worried that the mission wouldn't be completed? Elder Jing snorted coldly. I think she has completely given up. If you don't believe me, look at the next round of the mission. She will definitely use her spiritual energy barrier to protect herself. Although Mountain Master, he wasn't too confident in his heart. He still said stubbornly, I think that the little girl must have thought of a good idea. If you don't believe me, let's bet. I bet 100,000 high-grade spiritual stones. I bet that the little girl will definitely complete the mission this time. Do you dare to bet? Elder Jing glanced at him with disdain. Let's bet then. You're going to lose for sure. These people were also bored to death, so they began to place their bets one after another. The vast majority of them placed their bets on Elder Jing's side. Only Mountain Master Zhuo weakly expressed his support for Mountain Master He. Mountain Master He grinned and said, Brother Zhuo has good eyesight. We're going to win for sure. That little girl can even break out of the Azura prison. Why would she be afraid of those broken arrows? Mountain Master Zhuo thought that he didn't have much confidence in himself. However, he knew that that little girl was someone who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. No matter what, this would show her attitude. When she came out, it would also be a show of merit. Master Bailey looked at everyone speechlessly. Of course he wouldn't get involved. However, in his heart he felt that Mountain Master he was bound to lose. Although that little girl had a belly full of bad water, these arrows weren't something that bad water could deal with. While everyone was making a racket, the Tranquil Heart Cave had already begun to prompt for the start of the second Calming Heart mission. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were both dumbfounded when they saw that the little girl took out a large kitchen knife from her storage ring and made a strange pose. Then she shouted, "The first style of killing chickens." Snap. And Lin Chuan sat down on the ground. It was over. Junior Sister Jiu had gone mad. Shangguan Hao was slightly stronger than him. He staggered and managed to stabilize himself. He thought to himself, Junior Sister Jiu's words just now were quite normal. How did she suddenly go mad? Although the people in the meeting hall didn't hear Yun Chujia's first move of killing chickens, everyone still saw Yun Chujia's weird posture. Mountain Master and said disdainfully, "Could that little girl have gone crazy?" Mountain Master Zhua, looks like your spirit stones are going to be lost. Mountain Master he was even more uncertain. However, he didn't want to lose, so he grinned. Hehe. What do you know? This little girl might be using some kind of surprise method to win. Mountain Master and pursed his lips. Surprise method? What kind of surprise? Using a broken kitchen knife to win? What a joke. Mountain Master his old face turned red from the rebuke and he said casually, "Humph. What do you know? Maybe this little girl wants to learn sword cultivation and use her sword energy to force back those arrows." Mountain Master and the others were laughing so hard that they fell back. Elder Jing said from the side, "Is there something wrong with your head? Sword energy? She's not a sword cultivator, how can she have sword energy? Besides, can that broken kitchen knife produce sword energy?" Mountain Master he was rendered speechless. He glared at Mountain Master Zhua, meaning why don't you help? Mountain Master Zhua thought to himself, that's nonsense. How can you ask him to help? Could it be that this little girl can really use her sword aura? That's impossible. While they were arguing, Yun Chujio had already practiced the chicken slaughtering swordsmanship once. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao didn't dare to disturb her. They thought to themselves, this junior sister Jiu is most likely a demon. It's better to wait and see first. At this moment, the second meditation task was officially activated. Countless arrows shot towards Yun Chujio. And Lin Chuan closed his eyes. Although it did not cause much damage, the sight of him being shot like a hedgehog was still too horrible to look at. The image of Yun Chujio being shot like a hedgehog appeared in his mind. He heard Shangguan Hao beside him exclaim, "Sword intent." And Lin Chuan thought to himself, it's over. Even senior brother Shangguan has become a demon. Sword intent? Unless he saw a ghost, there would be no sword intent. However, he still opened his eyes and saw that although there were many arrows shooting towards Yun Chujio, they all fell about 3 feet away from Yun Chujio's body. And Lin Chuan got up and rubbed his eyes. Then he asked Shangguan Hao, who was dumbstruck, this is really sword intent? Isn't junior sister Jiu a spirit cultivator?" Shangguan Hao said with a stiff face, and she doesn't have sword chi, but that is indeed sword intent. The two felt as if they had stayed in this tranquil heart cave for more than 2 months, and the immortal essence continent had become unrecognizable. Oh God, since when could spirit cultivators comprehend sword intent? And it was without sword chi? Besides, what kind of chicken slaughtering sword technique did junior sister Jiu use? Why did it look like she was randomly dancing? How could she release sword intent like this? What the hell? The two of them were shocked. It was as quiet as death in the meeting hall. Even Mountain Master he who was originally shouting that Yun Chujio would release sword chi was dumbfounded. He was really just casually saying it. He did not expect the little girl to give him such a big surprise. What nonsense, sword chi. She did not care about it, but she directly released sword intent. What did sword intent represent? Even a sword cultivator who had many years of experience might not be able to comprehend sword intent. He did not expect that this little girl would casually use a broken kitchen knife to make a few gestures, and sword intent would be released. Ah, it was great. This is so satisfying. After Mountain Master he regained his senses, His grin was so wide that it seemed like he was going to fly into the sky. Ha ha, how is it? I was afraid of scaring you guys just now, so I only said that she could release her sword chi. Did you see that? Sword intent. Does sword intent know? Not to mention these illusory arrows, even if it were real arrows, they wouldn't be able to hurt her in the slightest. Say, are you guys convinced? Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Mountain Master An's face flushed red. Even in his dreams he had never thought that Yun Chujio would actually be able to release her sword intent. The matter was laid out here, and even if he wanted to deny it, he wouldn't be able to deny it. Seeing that they didn't say anything, Mountain Master, he became even more proud. Come. Hurry up and transfer the spirit stones that you lost to me in Mountain Master Zhua. If it were up to me, I'd say that Mountain Master Zhua has a discerning eye and shares the same thoughts as my hero Ha. Mountain Master Zhua was much more low-key than Mountain Master He. He deliberately changed the topic and said, everyone, what kind of sword intent do you think Yun Chujio released? It seems to be quite different from what I've seen before. Mountain Master N snorted coldly. That little girl is unreliable. The sword intent she released is naturally unreliable as well. Who cares what kind of sword intent she has? Old Jing, hurry up and get someone to activate the third Calming Heart mission. I'd like to see if she can still pass it. Elder Jing's expression became even uglier. He felt that he had lost all his face. Ever since he met Yun Chujio, all his glory in the past had vanished into thin air. Thus he immediately took out his identity jade token and sent a message to his disciples, asking them to activate the third Calming Heart mission immediately after the second Calming Heart mission was completed. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao, who were inside the cave, only recovered from their shock at this moment. They looked at Yun Chujio, who was waving her large kitchen knife with admiration. At this moment, the ugly posture and the unrated name of the sword technique were not important anymore. The sword intent was more important. Junior sister Little Jio, a spirit cultivator, could actually comprehend the sword intent. What a magical existence. When Yun Chujio finished her mission, she saw Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao looking at her with admiration. The corner of Yun Chujio's mouth twitched. What did they mean? Junior sister Xiaojio, I didn't expect you to really comprehend sword intent. You are too powerful. Right, what sword intent did you comprehend? Is it the fast sword intent, the slow sword intent, or the water sword intent? And Lin Chuan asked with admiration. My sword intent is special. Cough cough, it's the chaotic sword intent. Yun Chujio laughed dryly. And Lin Chuan, Shangguan Hao, sword intent of chaos? There was such a sword intent? But that was also true. The moves that junior sister Little Nine made just now seemed really messy. But no matter what, the sword intent was awesome. Who cared about the sword intent? When the two were about to ask in detail, they heard the voice of the mission. The third meditation mission has been activated. Fuck. Are you trying to exhaust us to death? And Lin Chuan said angrily. Yun Chujio's eyes flickered. Come on. Let's finish these bullshit missions as soon as possible so that she can go out. She still wanted to go to school and find a way to get struck by lightning. She didn't have the time to waste in this meditation cave. Yun Chujio asked Lin Chuan curiously, Senior brother N, what is the content of the third mission? And Lin Chuan said in a bad mood, the third mission seems to be the easiest. Damn it, it's very abnormal. It is to walk from one end of the bridge to the other end within 4 hours. As long as you walk there you will pass. But senior brother Shangguan and I can only walk to the middle of the bridge. We still can't reach the end. Then what is the reason? Is there an illusion array? Yun Chujio asked in confusion. If there's only an illusory formation it would be easier. Just keep your mind clear. The main reason is that there's a huge pressure that makes it impossible for you to keep your mind clear. You'll unknowingly fall into the illusory formation, and Lin Chuan said in annoyance. Yun Chujio nodded. Humans had all sorts of emotions and desires. Sometimes, even though she knew it was an illusion, it was easy for her to lose herself under the pressure of external forces. Therefore, it was not difficult to understand why Lin Chuan and Chujio felt that this mission was abnormal. Of course, to a certain Jio, this mission did not seem to be a mission at all. Pressure? No matter how strong the pressure was, How could it be as strong as the pressure of heavenly thunder? Illusion array? What a joke. Even if the black bead didn't warn her, Yun Chujio could still keep her consciousness clear, let alone the black bead. However, she still decided to put on a show and pretend to fail just in case something went wrong. At this time, an arch bridge appeared in front of the three of them. It was just an ordinary stone arch bridge and there was no difference at all. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao gave Yun Chujio a few instructions before they went onto the bridge. Yun Chujio noticed that beads of sweat were starting to drip down from their foreheads. It was obvious that they were already under pressure. The first half of their journey was rather smooth. However, they stopped in the middle and their expressions changed. And Lin Chuan's expression became extremely excited. He did not know what good things had happened in the illusion. Shangguan Hao, on the other hand, had a pained expression. He had probably fallen into some kind of painful illusion. Yun Chujio felt that she had observed enough, so she stepped onto the stone bridge as well. The people in the meeting hall realized that Yun Chujio was taking every step with great difficulty, so they immediately switched to self-congratulatory mode. Che, how was it? I told you that Yun Chujio wouldn't be able to grow a rabbit's tail, right? She has a stomach full of bad ideas, so there are a lot of twists and turns in her head. It's easier for her to fall into an illusory formation than others. In my opinion, she might not be able to reach the other end of the bridge even after 3 years. Mountain Master and felt that he had regained the face he had lost just now. He felt extremely pleased with himself. Elder Jing chimed in from the side, that's right. The first 2 rounds of missions were just a small test, but the third round of missions has truly become more difficult. What do you think? Mountain Master He, do you still want to bet? Mountain Master He saw Yun Chujio struggling with every step she took, and to be honest, he really didn't have the confidence. However, one couldn't lose when losing, so he gritted his teeth and said, this first attempt doesn't count. We have to let her familiarize herself with it, right? So this time doesn't count. If she still can't pass next time, you'll lose 100,000 spirit stones to you. After saying that, Mountain Master He glanced at Mountain Master Zhuo and Mountain Master Zhuo with his eyes and forced a smile. He could only say, I still agree with Mountain Master He's opinion this time, so I'll bet with him. Mountain Master He nodded in satisfaction. He had never realized that this Mountain Master Zhuo was so loyal before. It seemed that they could have a good relationship in the future. As for Mountain Master Shen and the others, they naturally followed Elder Jing's bet. They felt that even in Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao, who had practiced for more than 2 months, could not resist the pressure, let alone Yun Chujio. Then what kind of illusion had a certain Jiu fallen into at this moment? After stepping onto the stone arch bridge, the so-called extremely powerful pressure was basically negligible. What this person was more concerned about was what kind of illusion she would fall into. If she could see Chi-Chi or the gigolo, it wouldn't be too bad. Then she would stay in the illusion for a while longer. Unfortunately, the illusion she fell into didn't have Chi-Chi or the gigolo. Instead, there was a swaying grass. Fuck. Wasn't that Go Weiba? However, the place where Go Weiba grew was a little strange. Hun Dun was in the surroundings and it was dark. There were only a few rocks on the ground. Guai Chao was swaying in the middle of a pile of rocks. It looked quite comfortable. Yun Chujio thought to herself that she had no way to deal with that damned Go Weiba in reality. Now that it was an illusion, she could deal with it. Yun Chujio laughed sinisterly, then squatted in front of Guai Chao. Go Weiba, I didn't expect you to have such a day. Little fellow, did you think that one day you would fall into my hands? This fellow felt that Di Baiming's was the most pretentious, so he borrowed it. Guai Chao's leaves curled up into the shape of a heart, acting cute and begging for mercy. Don't play this game with me. If not for you, I would have eaten all the pretty boys. If not for you, I would have raised a bunch of little monkeys with the pretty boys. I have to think about how to torture you to get rid of the hatred in my heart. Slash. Burn. Fry. Every time Yun Chujio mentioned a method, Guai Chao would tremble. In the end, the trembling was almost like a wave. Yun Chujio was extremely happy. This illusion was really good. Finally, she could teach Go Weiba a good lesson. Yun Chujio took out a large kitchen knife. She was eager to cut the Guai Chao and dig out its roots. Then the Guai Chao would die. Yun Chujio raised her hand high. The leaves of the Guai Chao formed the shape of a heart again. It trembled non-stop as if it was begging for mercy. Yun Chujie's hand could not go down no matter what. Although the Guai Chao was detestable, it had accompanied her for a long time and helped her resolve the crisis countless times. If she killed it just like that, she wouldn't be able to bear it. So should she cut it or not? Yun Chujio hesitated for a long time and finally withdrew her hand. Even though she knew that this was an illusion, she still couldn't bear to kill the Guai Chao like this. The Guai Chao seemed to have understood that the crisis had been resolved. It wagged its leaves proudly, just like how Go Weiba used to show off. Yun Chujio could not help but be angry and happy. She took out a brush from her storage ring and wrote words like Go Weiba and Dreg's grass on the leaves of Go Weiba. Yun Chujio put the brush into her storage ring, then she pointed at the strange grass and said, Go Weiba, although you have harmed me a few times, you have also saved me a few times. Let's call it even. I hope that you will take care of yourself in the future. I hope that we will not really fight to the death in the future. After saying that, Yun Chujio stood up and looked at the surrounding environment. She felt that the environment here was somewhat familiar. The sky was low and heavy, as if she could get it with just a raise of her hand. There was no sun, no clouds, and other than rocks, there was only that Guai Chao. I remember now. The forbidden area of the Temple of Immortals was also like this. It was said that Hun Dun was sealed inside. Could it be that this place was also an unopened land of Hun Dun? Could it be that the Guai Chao existed before Hun Dun was opened? Yun Chujio shook her head. He was really confused. This was an illusion. It was nothing more than a figment of her imagination. It was likely that Zhang Guan and Dai Li had planted the Guai Chao in the original land of Hun Dun. Yun Chujio saw that there was nothing interesting here, so she used her spiritual sense to clear her mind. The guy opened his eyes secretly. She saw that Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were still on the bridge, so it was not good for him to continue walking, so she went to sleep on the bridge. The meeting hall was in an uproar. Look, is Yun Chujio dead? Mountain Master said in surprise. Although he didn't like the little girl, he didn't want to kill her. Why was she lying there? Could it be that the pressure was too strong and she died? Old Jing, you're going too far. Even though that little girl is unreliable, you can't kill her. Mountain Master Shen didn't want to be an accomplice to murder. He hurriedly jumped out to blame Elder Jing. Elder Jing was holding his breath. Who was supporting him just now? And now one or two of them were blaming him. Besides, although he had made some moves, he had only increased the pressure a little. How could he die? Mountain Master, he raised his loud voice and said angrily, Old Jing, I didn't expect that you would do anything to take revenge on that little girl. Why don't you hurry up and ask your disciple to end the mission? Maybe that little girl just fainted. Don't kill her. Elder Jing's heart was like a beeping dog. He had never heard of anyone who had experienced an illusory formation and played himself to death in such a short time. If this little girl died, he really wouldn't be able to defend himself. Just as Elder Jing was about to order his disciple to end the mission, the 4-hour deadline arrived and the mission automatically ended. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were stunned for a moment before they woke up from the illusion. The two of them looked at each other and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Still didn't work. It seemed that they still needed to train for a few more days. And Lin Chuan turned his head and saw Yun Chujio lying on the ground. The mission was over and the bridge was withdrawn. This fellow naturally lay on the ground. And Lin Chuan was shocked. Junior sister little Jiao. Junior sister little Jiao. Could it be that junior sister Xiaojiu had been killed by the pressure? That's right, her spiritual power was only at the 6th layer of the Lingxian realm. How could she withstand such a great pressure? At this moment, Yun Chujio opened her eyes and sat up, then stretched. It's over? I saw a bed in the illusion just now and I fell asleep while lying on it. And Lin Chuan, Shangguan Hao, there was such an illusion. How badly do you want to sleep? You can even fall asleep in the illusion. However, it was true. After such a torturous experience, it should be nighttime outside. It was indeed time to sleep. The three of them briefly exchanged their experiences and then found a place to sleep. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao just laid on the ground. A certain Jiao was much more complicated. This fellow took out a universal tent and went into it. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao glanced at each other speechlessly. This junior sister Jiu really knew how to enjoy herself. Eating hot pot and living in a tent. She wasn't here to calm her mind, she was here to take a stroll. At this moment the atmosphere in the meeting hall was very subtle. Mountain Master and Mountain Master Shen looked embarrassed. They had just accused Elder Jing of causing the death of Yun Chujio, but who would have thought that not only was the little girl not dead, she was also alive and kicking. It was really a little awkward. Mountain Master, he had a carefree personality, but he didn't think much of it. He laughed and said, "That old Jing, I wronged you just now. I didn't expect that nothing happened to that little girl. He probably slept in the illusion." Elder Jing snorted. He wouldn't admit it. Seeing that Yun Chujio wasn't dead, he also heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment Mountain Master Zhua said weakly, Did you guys forget about a problem?" The crowd looked at Mountain Master Zhua in confusion. What problem? In an illusion, people will have changes in their expressions of joy, anger, sorrow, and joy. At most, they will have some minor body movements. I've never heard of anyone who can change from standing to lying down. Mountain Master Zhua stopped here. He believed that everyone understood his underlying meaning. You mean that she actually woke up from the illusion before she fell to the ground? And then deliberately lay there to sleep? Mountain Master, he raised his voice and said, "You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."